Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Seattle on the near side. Schultz saving. Left circle. Bowman in. Back up top. Short scores! Justin Schultz with the shot from the point.
Reinhardt here on the near wing. Backpedals a bit towards center, then heads in over the Toronto line. Up the right side. A long shot wide. Rims around. Anton Lundell down behind the net. Reinhardt wraps it around. He scores! Sam Reinhardt, the overtime winner! And the Panthers take a 3-game sit-on lead. Booker between the circles. Booker stops, shoots a three, shoots it! The Booker, 98-92 Suns.
Tatum pass to Smart, gets off a shot for three, hits it at the horn, but did he get it off in time?
Doc Rivers is saying no way.
They're going to go to replay.
No, it's no good.
Here's Mage coming strongly down the outside. Angel on Empire is putting in his run, and there's one for Lundell. Two Bills coming inside, trying to hold up Mage. Mage is taking the lead here as they come into the final 16, and it is going to be Mage to win the Kentucky Derby.
Hey, good morning. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers back with you for another week. We're having some fun already, smiling on a Monday morning.
Yeah,
at least we're trying.
We're trying.
We're trying to smile.
It's gonna be a struggle.
Did you have Mage in any of your? Any of your tickets?
I don't know how to do any of that, so I didn't. I just checked on my mom on Sunday morning. That's not my jam. I listen to a lot of people, and I'm interested. And it's a lot more fun when you don't have any skin in the game. So I have a couple of 3 or 4 buddies. My buddy DC, David, Coe, and Degenerate Aaron. Obviously, my mom. There's some people that I like. I cheer for them. Like Aaron in the morning. He texted like, I don't know. I was ironing my pants for the funeral. So it was around 8. And it's on a Saturday morning, man. It's raining, dreary. You know me.
The perfect day for a Kentucky Derby.
I'm in my feelings about something, right? I read my text, and it was like, he's like, man, we got a scratch. Forte scratched.
Couldn't believe it.
And I looked, and I was like, what in the world? I said, that's going to change everything. But I was rushing around so much, I didn't have time to text my mom. Because I was already going to be up against the clock. So I asked her on yesterday morning. I said, hey, how'd it go? And she's like, well, after Forte scratched, it threw everything off. I only won X amount of money. 7 horses died. I wasn't quite as excited. Hopefully you get back before the weather gets bad. Safe travels. Maybe you can bring the boys for dinner.
I didn't get the invite to dinner.
That's like, listen. I mean, all I could do is just read it and chuckle, right? Only my mom, right? Like,
and she broke down like 20 things in that little paragraph.
Yeah. So this whole horse,
a bunch of mood swings.
Yeah, the whole horse dying phenomenon.
It's a real thing.
Like, what is that over the last handful I need to research it better. But like, it's a thing.
It's got to be how much they train mixed with some type of food and drink that they
maybe some of the synthetics.
It's
and leave it to my mom to be sensitive about that, right? Like that just threw off her whole. Like she gets
a lot of horses,
and she likes. She doesn't have a lot of certainly doesn't have a ton of hobbies, right? I think she likes to clean and shop. Like that's kind of her jam. So I think like this time of the year, her birthday just passed. Like it's, Mother's Day's coming up. It's the Derby.
A bunch of other horse races coming.
So I think she's kind of vibing a little bit, and
the weather's also better.
She was just focused on. Well, she's a grass warrior, so she wants to make sure she's had the same lawn service people. Bless his heart. He and his son, they have been godsends for my mom the last, I bet you it's double-digit years. Yeah, Scott. Like, she loves him. He comes in and out of the house. Like, she just leaves the checks for, like, they're close.
They could sleep there.
They're close. I remember one time we were celebrating somebody's birthday. It was on a Sunday, and he was in the neighborhood. This was a minute ago because everybody was at home, even my brother. So it was a minute ago, right? He just comes in and says, "Hey, just want to say happy birthday. Wish everybody well. Saw all the cars were here." We're like, dang, I don't know who I like well enough to just come on in on a Sunday night for dinner. But yeah, so she likes the grass a certain way and green, and she has this little container to roll up her garden hose, so it's perfect. And so the weather changing is nice, but she likes to stay on top of it. She's the type of person that has like the fake things in their yard to scare off rabbits and stuff.
Gnomes.
Like there's just random weird things that I think are real animals in the backyard, but it's not really real animals.
So she has like fake deer.
Like, one is like, it looks like a white scary rabbit, and it's like in the grass. It looks like it's gonna jump.
Like
and
it's
I'm
a rabbit?
like, is that for the birds or other rabbits? Isn't that going to attract other
Maybe
rabbits?
it's for people.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I don't know.
Get out of my lawn.
So the funny thing is, the only real question that we kind of got in. No, you may have gotten one in. I don't think I did. I got the one in last, right? About
I think you kicked us off.
2:01:30.
I think you kicked us off, and then we had to sit there and listen.
And he goes, "Hey, what's with the 2:01:30?" And it finished at 2:01:57.
It was just comment after comment.
Dude, he's fantastic. But like, I got to do some more research on why all these horses are dying.
Yeah, we should get back with him. He probably knows.
Yeah.
Like if we set up a conversation with him,
I
enjoy
about
Big A.
I enjoy a conspiracy like anyone else. Like, is there a conspiracy? Is there something going on that we don't know about with horses?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I don't know. I would hope that it just has to be something wrong with food or drink that they can change instantly.
So do horses just drink? I'm sure they drink like amino water, electrolyte, Gator G2 or something.
They're out there drinking Powerade.
Well, something. You don't just give horses water, do you? Not horses that cost that much money.
No, you give them Dirty Creek water.
So my buddy Cookie, I should have him call us. He trains horses out at the track, and I gave him the best information ever.
Which track here in town?
He's been everywhere. He's a diehard Jays fan. Like, I love him to death. Sometimes people are kind of afraid of him because he comes across as a little short, a little crabby. Oh, he is my dude. Tough to play cards with. Like, I mean, he'll grumble, and I love him. And I've known him for probably almost 20 years. And I didn't think, is one of those guys you don't think you're gonna like, and then you end up like, hey man, let me get your number. Yeah, he's fantastic. And so he was the first person I told. This was months ago. This was even pre-you. He was the first person I told about the Big East coaching changes.
Really?
Yeah. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, because I was kind of being safe. I was like, hey, what was that about? When did I tell you that? Was that a month ago, 6 weeks ago? He's like, no, it's 9. Got it in my phone.
He wrote it down?
He's a dude. So we should ask him, because it's not like us grabbing drinks at a water fountain, right? You don't just feed horse or give horses regular water.
No, I don't know what they get, but they get something special.
I mean, those are some big, cock strong animals. Like, you look at their muscles, I was like, dang.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was shocked that Forte had a bruised foot.
Dude, and one horse had a fever. Like, how do you know a horse
got a fever?
How do you know
the only prescription is more cowbell?
We need a little more cowbell. How do you know a horse has a fever?
You check their temperature.
Yeah, you're not putting. Can you imagine a horse letting you
put it in their rear end?
Can you imagine a horse just chilling, letting you put it in their bunda?
I think that's how it works.
No,
I don't think they have it hanging out their
I'm
mouth.
not going anywhere near those. I'm telling you, man. I watched YouTube last night late. Weird. When animals attack, I was just watching different
Was that sparked by the shark on Twitter?
No, it was sparked by Zoe asking me about coyotes. For whatever the reason. No, ain't no telling with that little girl. But so I just went down this one animals attacks thing. But I wouldn't go anywhere near her. They're okay, right? Like I'll get
your pets in behind the fence,
and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna keep it pushing.
Yeah, I will say this: my family owns property in St. Louis, and they raise.
Are you gonna be one of those trust fund babies or what? I know.
No,
Barry's working his tail off.
No. Even if I am, Barry's keeping it for himself.
Yeah.
But
Barry does not strike me as the type of guy that's selfish. Is he like Doc Sadler and Shane? Or no?
We benefit off Barry's greatness. We'll just say selfish.
That. Is that Barry?
Is that no?
Hey, one more. Say that again. I don't know. Is that Barry?
Selfish.
No, it doesn't sound like me.
No. Anyway, our family has property, a bunch of land in St. James, Missouri, which about
is.
2 hours outside the city.
The funeral was at St. James Church. We're kindred spirits. All right.
How about that?
Yeah.
And so they have a ton of horses. We used to ride horses all the time growing up. And and they still ride horses. Yeah, to this day. They have a ton of horses down there. We'd go on horseback rides. It's really cool.
So why don't you ask them what they feed the horses?
I should. Why don't I? I'll shoot them a text right now.
What's wrong with this?
Because they're not racing horses. I don't know. Is it different? Like, wouldn't it be different if you're like training a horse to run in 2 minutes time?
Whether you give them G2 or just regular water?
Yeah, G2. Yeah, low calories. But going back to like being close up to a horse.
Yeah.
I mean, they're freakishly tall, freakishly strong, as you said. I would always avoid going behind the horse at any point because I didn't want to get drop kicked.
Yeah, and I was traumatized. Like, full disclosure, like it all comes from somewhere.
I mean, I'm like running and scooting around the horse.
3rd grade, I'm in the pod system at Lothrop Elementary, and there's like 4 classes in one big space, which was new for me. But my middle school did not have 3rd grade, so you had to. It was how they promoted DSEG, so you had to get on the bus at one time during your elementary career. So I'm at Lothrop and I'm in class, and Mrs. Mardig, who was very good friends with Miss Erfmeyer. These are real teachers, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't think the last one was, but the first one I thought, okay.
No, Miss Erfmeyer, yeah, super. She was a super lady, family friend. All these people were friends just because my dad grew up in education. But anyway, Miss Mardig had a farm, and let's just say Lothrop is in East Omaha. People say North Omaha. It's not north. I mean,
okay.
Ponca is north, right? It's not in Ponca. It's East Omaha, right? So high minority ratio, right? And she's got a farm. We're going out to her farm as a 3rd grade field trip because she had horses. So we spent 3 days like learning about animals. They kind of made like a week study out of it, and it's weird what I remember, but she kept talking about what was going to be on the farm and animals and stuff like that. And she's like, we'll get to feed the horses, but just make sure, when you feed the horses, their eyes are on the side, and you have to keep your palms open and don't grab it with your fingers bent. And you're like, however old, 9 or 8, and you're like, if I don't have my fingers right, they're going to bite my tips. So, of course, like
you're like this?
No. Even worse. I ain't go anywhere near the horses.
You threw the feed at them.
What does old DB decide to do? I'm not going outside to be with these dirty animals. I want to go in the house. No business going in her house. Of course I got in trouble. And I got a referral. And she called my mom for going in her house on the farm like I was going to take something.
Maybe you were just hot.
So guess what? Traumatized. Don't do farms. Don't do horses. I'm out.
So you'll never attend the Derby?
There's too many people.
Oh, that's why.
It just is. I was standing in the lobby at Hy-Vee Arena Saturday, and it was giving me anxiety. Like, I'm not opposed to crowds and people. It was just nonsense. I cannot stand. This is so bad. Should I even say this? I cannot stand when people can't get control of their kids in public. It's like a goddamn free-for-all. You walk in this big arena.
I don't know if that happened at the Derby, though.
and people are just running around. It's just utter foolishness.
Sure.
Like, tell them to sit their little narrow ass down somewhere and get ready to go play. It's not romper room. Just a bunch of badass kids.
The crowd at the Derby seems to be rambunctious.
Yeah, but
they look nice.
So here's my thing about the Derby. It's so bougie.
I feel like that's why you wouldn't go.
And I'm insecure, so I would just be like, man,
you wouldn't want to wear a fedora.
No, I'd rock a fedora. I have a couple. I just don't wear them.
I have one too.
No, I could definitely see you wearing one, or like Sherlock Holmes. Or
yeah, why definitely, DB?
Because, man, you got a little drip.
Oh, there it is.
You got a little bit.
Good compliment. I'll take that. And even if you were thinking something else, I'll take that.
No, that's what I was thinking. Sometimes you just got to have. I mean, who from Meet the Robinsons wouldn't wear a fedora?
Yeah, that's true. What's his name? Tony? I don't know.
Dude, you do look like that.
Hey, no, I don't. Not one bit.
Stop.
Not one bit.
Let's be honest. You look just like that, dude.
Oh, man. Are we going to go down the Charlie Brown rabbit hole?
Nope, not doing it. 2:01:57 was the winning time. I don't know if that's a fast track or not.
We should look that up. But I went to Horseman's Park for the Derby just to watch. Never been.
Oh, I forgot. My buddy Aaron, he knows Cookie.
Never been. And the track itself was really nice. But the way they had the Derby set up was even cooler. They had these big white tents outside.
Of course.
A huge big screen.
Who was working?
Oh, tons of people were working.
Of course they were.
And then they had automated tickets. Now, what?
What are you talking about? I was just telling Shane, you need people to work the grounds. Where are you going with that?
We're not talking grounds. We're talking tickets, taking betting tickets, and those serving drinks.
So on site, there's like an on site place to make wagers.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a debacle.
They had ticket machines, and so like I had to figure out how to place bets on these horses, and I was just kind of trial by fire. Like, oh, okay, Churchill Downs, and then all right, race 12. Okay, here are the horses, but I can choose win. I can choose, the exacto. They didn't have an exacto box. They had the trifecta, superfecta, but they had like 12 other things that I did not know.
Hey, you know how I'm always trying to learn something. So when my buddy Aaron sent me his tickets, I cared, but I didn't care what horses he picked. I wanted to try to understand the ticket. So I'm looking at all the little acronyms and the little.
I wonder if his ticket looked anything like mine. Mine was easy to read. It was
I'm not putting his business out there, but
$5.
So I'm looking
different numbers.
Like there's a lot of these little numbers.
Okay.
I'm like, what is all this?
Okay, so he has the trifecta here. So he needed those to finish in order.
No, I get that.
Right.
So what's TRIB mean?
I think that's the trifecta bet.
So I'm just
try bet.
Why are there so many little numbers?
What little numbers are you
like
to?
Like
that's like the barcode number, I think.
Okay, what's
like
this one?
Slip number.
This is terrible radio, but those of you that are degenerates know exactly what I'm talking about.
See, I don't know that. I probably only know 50% of that ticket.
This gives me anxiety looking at it.
I only know, but that ticket's easier to read than the one I got. So where it has the horses' names, mine only had the numbers of the horse.
So funny story. When we first started in my former life doing races, I have two good buddies. One of them is DC. I mean, all in on horse handicapping. He's got notebooks and acronyms, and he does like a spreadsheet. It's unbelievable. I'll see if he can send it to me, dude. It's mind numbing. But that's how we got over the friendship hump. Because remember my buddy I told you from Central City? That's actually who I drove with to KC, who has the feedlot for cattle.
Oh yeah,
and he was writing down all the numbers to get yield. Like those things interest me. So I'm blown away spending 7 days.
Why didn't I have that as a resource?
No,
before I placed my bets?
I'll see if he'll send it to me, how he does his notes. It's unbelievable. But how do you not get overwhelmed
by those numbers?
Yeah, seriously. Like it's not like Suns Nuggets, and you're like,
to us that's Beowulf. To him, that's a Magic Treehouse book. Like he can read that, and it's like a children's book. For
Yeah,
us,
that's crazy.
we're reading scripture. We're trying to decipher what this means.
I could actually read scripture a lot easier than I can do that. It looked like hieroglyphics, but I just wanted to learn it. And my mom, who is not like, the only two things she's like really into are her family and like flowers and like her yard. So for her to like be all in on horses, doesn't like drinking, like turns her nose up at gambling, except for horses.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it about horse racing that like captivates people like that? But when you're all in, you're all in, and they're different. They know way. It's crazy.
Because she likes more than just the Derby, so you can't say like, "Oh, she likes the tradition."
Yeah, what was it a month ago she was watching?
Just a random event.
It was on
grass.
NBC, like
on
a Saturday afternoon, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" Like
those announcers, by the way,
went over.
Horrible. I've seen a couple of events like that, and them trying to fill time during those horse racing events. Oh, brutal.
What is wrong with you?
Anyway,
hey, I have
something.
Shane, what's the deal on TV sometimes when people watch like multiple races and it's on the television? It's not simulcast, is it?
Well, that's what I would have said. Simulcast.
Is that what it is? So all those
like
races
are
those races are everywhere.
Right.
And they just go to like Aqueduct and
right. Yes.
Like they have those channels.
Uh-huh. I turned it on one day. I was like, man, I want to get in the Derby mood. Let's watch some horse racing.
Where did the love of horses come from? Your family?
A little bit, probably. You know, that's funny you say that.
We've been around for March Madness.
Right.
We've done the playoffs. Hockey. But the only time you said, "Man, I love
blah,
such
blah,
and
blah.
such," was the Derby.
Yeah. Well, I love March Madness too. I said it's the most wonderful time of the year. It's my
It's
Christmas.
the most
Yeah.
wonderful.
You
It's
were
probably something.
You were overly excited on Friday.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
I love the Derby.
He was like a child.
Right,
I was like,
right.
And I hadn't
So
seen
I
that
love
with
it.
any. I
And
hadn't
it's
seen that
funny that
before with any of the hosts that I've had.
It's funny that you say that though, because maybe it is like a subconscious for me to be like, oh, okay, I grew up around horses, so all of a sudden that's what sparked my love for the event. But it was really when we went to Churchill Downs and I got to see everything.
Did you go with the fam?
I went with my brother and my dad. And so we did the whole tour. We got to walk the track. Well, not really the whole track because that would have taken forever. But we got to stand on the track.
Would have taken you less than 2 minutes. And
if it did,
2:01.
I wouldn't be sitting in this chair right now. I'd be wearing a bouquet of roses. Maybe.
Did you used to want to be a jockey?
No, but those guys are really tall.
That's a lie.
So we went through the museum, and then I told you I watched the movie Secretariat, and then I watched old scenes of Secretariat on YouTube.
You trying to?
Then I would watch old horse racing
Secretariat.
events.
Are horses athletes?
Horses are athletes.
Okay, we're done.
They train.
Don't be that guy.
They train. They drink G2. We already covered. We discovered that.
Don't be that guy, man.
Hey, Brian, stick around. We're going to get to you next. Maybe he can give us some
now
take.
this will be good. Brian and horses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Stick around.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
So when I stepped out yesterday morning and I got a chance to see the horses warm up, come out of the bullpen and walk around the track for a minute and then get out there and just run around the track, it reminded me of preparing for a Super Bowl. And so this right here, being at the Kentucky Derby, is like being at the Super Bowl for me. And watching these thoroughbreds, as fast speed and everything that's hitting the track, everybody competing, is at an all-time high for me. So it's been a cool experience, real cool.
Hey, welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. We were trying to figure out what was causing the deaths to all these horses over the weekend. I mean, seven total horses, I should say, died this past week. And we were talking a little bit about food, drink, and so
G2.
DB had mentioned, hey, why don't you just text your family? You say they, raise and, corral horses on the daily. So why don't you ask them? So I did. And here's the response. You ready? My cousin, his name's Patrick.
What up, P?
He said, water mainly for drink. There's tons of different grains to give horses and cows. There's high protein grains for our older horses to help them keep on weight, for example. But Derby horses, I'm sure they have them on a very strict diet because horses on very fine grasses without working out can get what's called foundered. They basically get fat and their feet suffer the most from this. Our horses eat normal grains and we let them drink creek water, so very low maintenance. They will even sometimes paw the creek to stir up the mud and dirt because that gives them minerals in their drink. But our horses and but our horses and Derby horses are drastically different as far as upkeep. It's like me on the couch at home eating chips and beer compared to like a Michael Phelps in his prime. One's been eating and working out, and it all culminates to their performance, while the other, the performance I have, is standing up off the couch and going to work. Also, a main issue.
Is that funny, Shane? He's over there laughing.
Also, a main issue for years has been when a horse hurts their leg or breaks it. From what I know, a horse leg is almost not repairable, no matter how much physical therapy and knowledge we've culminated over the hundreds of years. I think, now this is just me saying this, a horse leg, I believe, has more joints compared to other animals, making it very hard to rehab and save. 9 times out of 10, if there's a major injury to a horse's leg, they are put down because it's just.
I thought that went away. I didn't think we were doing that anymore.
I don't raise horses, so I don't know.
Huh?
I can't go to PT if you're a horse, though.
Well,
maybe you can.
They need to go to my folks at ATC.
Maybe that's why they can't be athletes.
They don't know Nick Wegner.
Maybe that's why horses can't be athletes, because they can't do PT.
Yeah, but you're in on Secretariat being an athlete.
Secretariat was a different horse altogether. The heart was 10 times its normal size.
Okay, stop.
Didn't they run biology on that? How many horses did he reproduce?
Oh God, here we go.
Do we know? Honest question. How many horses did Secretariat reproduce?
Do I look like an equestrian junkie?
You know a lot of weird things.
I do, but not that.
I feel like it had to be
I
like
feel
hundreds.
like a penguin.
Do you think it was more than like 200 horses?
What is wrong with you?
I bet they sold that stuff for lots of money.
Meet the Robinsons. Stop it.
I don't know. Maybe I can go into the past.
Stop it.
Figure it out. Let's go to Brian on the phone. Brian, is he still here? We have Brian, Shane.
He knows the Lakers are coming up. Brian isn't going anywhere.
Hey, Brian, what's going on? I saw
He's
that
here.
you sent us a message on Twitter saying the conspiracy with horses dying isn't hard to figure out. Some say Elmer's and 3M may be behind it. Go ahead.
3M, like the company?
Yeah, both companies, I believe.
Oh, Lord.
And he's the company. Yeah. I like that horse you were talking about, though, Andrew. What's that horse name?
Which
Will
one?
Chamberlain?
Yes, that's him. Sure, we'll go with that.
Wilt Chamberlain's Secretariat. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. A lot of foolishness this morning.
Hey, I understand you, Damon, when it comes to the horses. We grew up in the time period of Maryland, future Omaha Wild Kingdom. We know not to be putting our hands near animals' mouths. That's a shout out to you, Tiger Lady at the Henry Dorley Zoo. Keep your fingers away from the mouth.
Oh, okay? I wish you were here for her.
Andrew wasn't here yet
for Tiger Lady.
I can only imagine.
They played that at Frank's funeral.
Bush Light and Jaeger bombs will do that to you.
Oh. Hey, now what if Andrew clapped back with Hypnotic and Incredible Hulks? Would we be offended?
I'm too old to drink that. He's out of that. He's not offending me. Not offending me.
He said Bush Light and Jägermeister.
Oh, I heard.
We drink stuff to put hair on our chest over here. And drink Kool-Aid mixed with alcohol. And we don't do that. Hey, I noticed something today, Damon, for to get tonight's game. If you notice,
what's that, buddy?
That line is 3.5. That line is 3.5 again.
Yeah,
line is 3.5. I've seen it when it's not over 4.5 points. To me, that's in the Lakers' favor tonight. So,
did you see what LeBron James said? What his recommendation was to the team? He said, put down social media, turn off the television. When you win, you're the best in the world. When you lose, they throw dirt on you. Mind your business.
LeBron James. Do that. I heard AD say that. If it worked for him, hey, do something. Do something long to keep you on the court, Mr. Fragile. That's all I got to say, Damon. I'm waiting for the Lakers to win tonight. Hey, tell Robbie I said hi. Sorry for his Golden State Warriors. They're probably going to get 50 fouls called against them tonight. Okay? But it's just part of the game. It's just part of the game, man. Let's deal with it. That's all.
Thanks, B.
So nothing about horses. I may have spoiled it in his Twitter response.
Is Bush Light and Jaeger bombs? Is that your thing?
No, that actually doesn't affect me.
Why not double down?
I'm the basic one when it comes to Crown Apple and Sprite. Let's go to Michigan Lance.
Crown. we could relate to that.
Yeah, let's go.
Not me, but
That's a double down.
wow. Yeah, we're doubling down. That's what we're doing. Lance, what's up, buddy?
Man, good morning, boys.
How you doing?
What's up?
I said, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. Hey, DB, have you done your annual Shane being a jockey joke?
No. He's too busy. He's over here low key laughing. He's laughed like 5 times this morning, which is good to see him smiling, man. Shane is. Sometimes I think he thinks we're crazy, but he knows.
Sometimes, all the time.
Right.
But he knows he can keep his finger off the dump button, so we're good. What's up this morning?
Hey, the Derby. Have you guys talked about these horses? I know you're talking about them, all these deaths and all that. Did you guys bring up like the PD effect if they're maybe on a little something?
No, but Andrew kind of did with the the training and the upping of the water. And I was like interested in their hearts, but guys are getting caught. Are they still cheating?
Man, come on, DB. You know they are. It doesn't matter if they get caught or not. They're still going to do it. I mean,
they like, blackball Baffert.
Yeah, that doesn't. Man, that doesn't stop people. Man, they find new ways. You know what I'm saying? Like there's new ways to get around things. So I don't know. All I know is when I'm looking at a horse, right, and they're walking up, and my man has, the horse has like. They're walking next to the horse and they're going to the thing, right? And like their tongue is out like they're, DB, that cocaine look people used to, like Bobby Brown when he was,
Why do I know the cocaine look?
DB, you know cocaine, right?
Oh man, look, that looks like coke.
Hey, DB, you grew up in the crack era '80s. Andrew's too young for that, so he didn't see a lot of crackheads growing up. All right, by the time Andrew came out, it was prescription pills.
It was regulated.
So, yeah.
I'd like to see your ID for some Sudafed, Mr. Horse.
Did they consent to taking PEDs?
Hey. But they look doped up though. I know one of them did. I'm like, dude, why is the tongue out? Like what is going on here? Like that doesn't look normal. Like I don't know.
I don't even know if I would have the courage to like post a horse. Like when they get ready to get in the gate. Like who's doing that? It's just unpredictable, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
Those are just big, strong, fast animals.
Right. And it's a lot of money on the line, man. So I don't doubt somebody's found a way to get around using something for their horse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But congrats to that guy, man. He was 0 for 15. And got the win. You talk about persevering, man. That's a long time of losing, and he finally got the win. And so, man, hats to him. Hey, DB, real quick. Hey, Damian Lillard and Steph Curry. If you switch those two, wouldn't it be kind of like the same career? Just think about it. Damian Lillard's really good, but he's been in a bad organization.
I probably wouldn't argue over that.
Let's think about it, though.
I don't, at first blush, it doesn't sound awful.
Lance, we appreciate you, man.
Like some of his other takes. It's all good.
Hey, I got another article about racehorses time to share with you.
Oh, here we go. At some point, we'll have the regular show.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back to the show wherever you find us, whether it's on the radio, 590 ESPN here in Omaha. We're live on Twitter, live on YouTube. It's Coffee and Cream in the morning. We're live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. DB. Okay.
AR.
Take a guess. Remember how I talked about how many horses Secretariat reproduced?
Okay.
Somebody gave me the horse number.
All right. Just a second. Shane, if you get feedback on the comment section, I want to know, or social media, you can let me know. Can I call you AR-15 without people getting mad?
I feel
Will
like
people
you should
be okay?
able to.
Because that's how you are in my phone.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've said from day one. I know it is like it's
unlikable term, I guess, to some.
But I just kind of like AR-15. But it's because of your temperament, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can go rapid fire. You can kind of go off when you want. Like,
it's a descriptor.
You need to be handled with care.
It's a descriptor. I'll tell you what. I'm not much of a gun guy.
I'm afraid of them.
So like I've gone to a gun range one time. Well, no, I went to a what's it called? Trap shooting? Is it when you shoot the orange disc?
Do you think I know?
I don't know. Is it?
I think it's skeet. Is it skeet shooting?
Is that skeet?
No, that's duck hunt. Is it trap shooting?
Clay. You shoot at clay.
How does he know?
Shane seems like a gun guy.
I'm not a gun guy.
So I did a story
I'm not a gun guy.
when I used to work in the news. I did a story on a team that was like a whatever shooting team, and I shot the shotgun one time, which is
it's
powerful.
clay pigeons.
Oh, he shot the sheriff like EPMD.
Well, I didn't
Are you Eric Sermon?
I shot the orange things in the air. That's it. The orange clay pigeons, and that's probably my extent of shooting guns. I shot a pistol one time. That's it. Like
A pistol?
Yeah.
So full disclosure, yesterday I driving back from KC, I get off on like the South Bellevue Greenwood exit, and along the new overpass they have, I saw a brother out there. Literally, I think he was practicing shooting. I almost wrecked.
Like with an actual gun in hand?
Yeah. And he looked like me. Oh yeah, just yesterday.
Where was he shooting?
Like he was out in the field.
Oh, okay.
I think this might be my man Cookie.
About horses again?
Yeah, nobody knows more than he does.
Well, I can't wait.
Oh, let's bring him on.
Well, when Shane hangs it up. By the way, Hail Varsity chimes in. Like, we appreciate all the comments on YouTube. Skeet shooting is correct. Nice
Is it
work.
skeet shooting?
Nice work.
I thought it was duck hunt. I don't know.
Duck hunt, the video game when the farmer comes out and it's
You were the type of kid that would get right close to the television.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know you.
I was right up on the screen, like shooting the ducks.
Stop cheating.
And I had the gun, like
Yeah.
the literal duck hunting gun.
Well, we're gonna get some answers.
All right, let's go to the phones once again. Cookie, gotta be a nickname, but I'm
long story. Good
welcome
morning,
you
buddy.
as Cookie.
Good morning. What's up, buddy?
My man, Damon. I'm out here. I'm an agent out here at Prairie Meadows. They opened up Friday out here. Got a couple jockeys.
Yeah.
And I haven't been hearing your show for the first time in a while.
Listen.
And you dropped me a line to call, but one of my jockeys was supposed to ride in the Derby this year, Ken Tohill, and they had NBC out here filming him around the country. And that was one of the horses that broke down a couple weeks ago, which was sad. So poor jock missed 2 minutes of fame.
Hey, before we get started with the horses, Andrew, like we've obviously been doing the show together for a while, and I saw you about a month ago. How soon did I beat the Patino Cooley prediction? When was that? Because I know you remember.
You told me, and I was telling my man Kelly Von Hemmel out here, that you gave me that information at least 3 months before. You probably gave me that in January, and you hit it right on the head.
Okay, so I need you to do us.
You hit them both, Georgetown and St. John's, Coach. January, I think you told me.
I need to go get a lottery ticket.
You're insane.
Hey, so we got lots and lots of questions. So for number one, like you train, like you. This is what you do.
No, I don't train. I'm just a pimp for these. I'm from North Omaha. I've been doing this for 45 years now. I'm from Exarban to here, but I only do Prairie Meadows right now. There's a lot of money out here, but that's what I've been doing. But I just get jockeys mount, but I do all the business with the trainers,
Yeah. So my first question is like, what's going on with the horses and their health? Like, why is this a thing over the last 2 or 3 years, or is it just that we're hearing about it?
No, it's a lot different. This HISS program came in effect like last year, which is the Horse Integrity Act, and now the federal government's involved. It's a very, very liberal and tough, close to PETA deal going on. Like they scratch, it's very regulated now, and things are different. Yeah, they're much more stricter. The horses always have gotten excellent care before HISS, but now they got these rules. It's like Bonner's not involved. Nebraska don't. Like Nebraska and Louisiana and Texas are not in this. They're still fighting in court, aren't going by their rules, which is the medication rules and all, because all these rules make it real tough for the smaller guys and smaller tracks. So now they can't simulcast their product out of state, Nebraska. But Prairie Meadows it's just very strict rulings. And like when Forte was scratched, I think there was a lot of controversy on that, why they scratched them.
Was it a bruise?
It was like a bruise, yeah. And you notice they didn't really talk about it, their vets, much, but that would probably never happen before this HISS rule came in. And that almost disappeared, but they got funded on that trillion-dollar deal last December. They passed it through and got money to keep this going. I think it's going to stay. It is what it is, but you really don't want the federal government in your business.
So why are the horses dying, do you think?
And the horses breaking down, it happens, you know. They just blowing a lot of this out of proportion, I feel, on these horses, you know, to justify their existence too. But, you know, it happens in the game. But it was always overblown out at California last year. There was no difference of horses breaking down before it compared to previous years, you know. A lot of these, you know, there's a lot of in-between lines on motives, you know, what they're trying to do, you know. You know, like at Santa Anita, supposedly, you know, one of the head of Santa Anita was a PETA backer too, you know, and owns that land out there. And, you know, you could sell that by the inch out of California, you know. There's a lot of in-between lines on it, but horse racing, they take care of their horses, believe me, especially in the last, you know, 20 years, you know. I mean, that's their bread and butter. You know, there are different legislations on different uses of medications, bute, Lasix, which is commonly used, especially Lasix and clenbuterol on heart patients. They used it on my brother. It saved his life with them drugs. You know, Lasix, you know, it takes water away, you know. They use that in regular heart medications to get heart, you know, water off the heart and stuff. And it's a diuretic is all it is. It's not a steroid. But they're trying to get more unifications across the country on the med program. But they also are charging huge expenses for this, and it's really going to hurt the little tracks and drive them out of business too, you know. So there's some motives that seem like they just want certain tracks running across this country anymore, I think the breeders are real big on behind this, on this Horse Integrity Act they call it, but it's I'm not a big fan of it, but you know, it is what it is. You know,
so
I have to register for it.
Yeah, so Cookie, are you saying that maybe it's more like the popularity of the time that we're in right now, which is why we are hearing about the 7 deaths?
There's no more tragedies going on, but you know, I'm glad, you know, something didn't happen in the Derby with all this. You know, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of horses. You know, a lot of bad press with them horses. You know, the one trainer losing 2 horses, you know, right before the Derby. Horse my jock was in that won the Sunland Park Derby. You know, his ankle shattered. I mean, it happens. Tragedy, you know, but they're bred to run, want to run, love to run, got their own grooms. I mean, it's not there's not a lot of felonies. I mean, you know, suspicious activity, I don't suspect in a lot of these things, you know. Obviously there's some bad characters in any business or sport that can give you a black eye, but really it's not exaggerated of higher more you know, horses going down and all. It's just more blown out of proportion now, I feel. But there's reasons why I think that are happening too.
We got about a minute. How stringent is the testing?
Oh, too stringent, dang near, you know, some of these, you know. Now they won't even hardly let you run on bute, which is just an anti-phlegmatic. You couldn't run on much of it anyway. You know, Lasix is like a big no-no. You can't run Lasix on 2-year-olds anymore in a lot of these places. They're very, very strict. I mean, you know, if a groom or somebody had some kind of illegal substance, you know, on their, you know, traces of it on their hand or something and doing a tongue tie on a horse, you know, where they tie the horse, the tongues down to some of them during the race, you know, a trace like that would show up on the steps.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, you can only hit a horse now 6 times in a race across America. Like, people don't realize it. And they've shortened the whip and shortened the popper on it, which really, you know, that's a major deal. And believe me, if you hit it more than 6, you're in the steward's office. I had one, my jock Ken Tohill, won close to 4,100 races. Complete professional, they all are. He had to sit out a day for it, and the lead, but they all did. They said he hit it 7 times and had it, got suspended for a day. And we watched the film, but they said he raised it too much. I mean, they're that strict anymore, Dan.
Wow.
Man, I have so many more questions. I have so many more questions to ask.
You're the best in the business, man. I appreciate it, Cook.
All right.
Thank
See you at the felt sometime.
Yeah.
I'm just starting. I got 5 months out here. I'm ready to head back now and been out here for 8 days. That's too much for this old guy. And believe me, I got to say one more thing.
Go ahead.
Go Jays, baby.
Thanks, Cookie.
Go Jays.
I like your show.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate
really
it.
Appreciate that. Sam McKewon up next.
Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Hey, top of the hour here on Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. Happy to have you here with us, and happy to be joined by Sam McKewon.
Appreciate
top of the hour.
Appreciate your guys' patience too. It's not often we could just get a call from a trainer just to get the insight on horses, right? We just got guys on speed dial. That's what we do, like this guy right here.
Sam McKewon here with us. Sam, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Sam, are you a horse racing guy?
well, I think it's incredible, but I can't say that I know a lot about it. Our resident horse racing expert at the World-Herald is Mike Patterson, and he knows
Really?
more than. Oh yeah.
Oh, I love Mike. We should give Mike a call.
You know, he barely says anything in public. I would never have guessed. He is so unassuming.
He is. He's a great journalist, and yes, he knows everything about horse racing. Like he does our horse racing notes. Yeah, you should call him on sometime and ask him about, I think it goes way back in his life too. Like he's loved it since he was a kid. So yeah, I think at one time when Exarban was still open, and for people who aren't 30, they probably don't remember Exarban. I do. I went there, with some regularity as a kid. Yeah, I mean, I think he covered that for them. So horse racing used to be a huge thing in Omaha. And now, at this point, it's the only place where it's really big is Grand Island at Bonner Park. Maybe a couple other places too, but yeah, that's the long and the short of it.
Sam, are horses athletes?
Stop.
No, they're not.
Thank you.
And there's, I could, one of the reasons I would cite for that is I don't know that the horses want to race. And so, I would say that jockeys are athletes, but the horses, are, they're obviously living creatures. So there is a distinction between them and cars, but I don't know that the horse's free will is in play when they're racing. That doesn't mean that I'm against horse racing. It just means that, Secretariat may not have really wanted to race in the Belmont Stakes. That may not have been a choice that Secretariat had.
Oh, he didn't tell him? He didn't tell him, like, hey, I want to race today?
Hey, speaking of
Yeah, I like greyhounds, too. Like, I don't know greyhounds, I don't know if that's what they want to do. So I philosophically, I would say no, but I respect the achievement of Secretariat or Man of War or Far Lap. That was the name of the horse, famous horse, too. All those things.
Man, you guys can't tell me that horses don't talk to each other and they're competitive.
Yeah,
we just can't understand
they're like,
them.
hey, yeah, good luck over there. Good luck over there in gate 4. I'm in 15. How about that?
My life's
Hey,
a
you're
movie.
near the rail. Enjoy that, buddy. And they're
I look at everything like a movie, DB. Everything is talking.
Yeah. So, Sam, speaking of semantics, I was interested in the hot takes. What's the difference between, because, Dirk loves the NBA.
Yeah.
And you responded, you said, okay, I get it. You were falling in love with Joker and Booker, and there's a lot of shot making. It was better now. It's better now, but it's not greater than in the 90s. For you, what's the difference between better and greater?
Magnitude, impact. Things can be, well, for one thing, like something can be great and not necessarily have positive moral virtue, like, even though great usually does have positive moral virtue, but like the great earthquake is not a good earthquake.
Yeah.
So like what I would say about the NBA, certainly in the 80s and in the 90s, and I grew up then, is the magnitude of the games, when it was Boston, LA, or it was the Bulls, Pistons, in the conference finals, and this was particularly memorable to me, like a Thursday night in the early 90s when the Bulls and the Knicks were playing. And it was, I think, the second round or the third round or the first round. And the level of attention paid to that, 30 million people watching on NBC, that kind of thing. The magnitude was extraordinary. Like, it was a huge deal. It's what made the NBA what it is today. Like, it sustained the NBA through the 2000s, which weren't very good. So, like, it helped. So what exists in our minds is not necessarily, well, this is how many shots were made, and this is the kinds of shots that were made, and this is how efficient these people were. But what remains in our mind is just sort of the magnitude of the game, and how we viewed the players, And I don't know that we view NBA players the same today as we did last night. I think the last NBA player that we view the way that we would have viewed those players back then is LeBron, and maybe even Kobe. Steph is probably part of a newer generation of player. Deion Booker's a great player, but I don't know that we view him the same way. I know we don't view Jokic the same way that we would have viewed, a player of his similar size and stature 25 years ago. NBA is probably the sport that's the most captive to social media, and social media is about tearing down all of the institutional norms that we have, and make no one's a hero, and everybody's reduced to their personal qualities, and all those things. So I think the NBA. Sorry about that. I don't know what that was.
Oh, you're all right.
It was a well. I think my ear hit like a Facebook thing. Video so annoying. Oh my god! Like my Bluetooth is not working right now.
But you sound fantastic, Sam.
Sam. During that little moment of silence, all it said was, "Why are horses athletes?" It was weird.
Stop.
So anyway, that's my answer to that question. It's not exactly like. Well, no, players back then played more physical basketball. It's the way that we looked. It's the way that we looked at sports, and the way we regarded those players. And I know that today's game is more fluid and involves prettier shots. I want to be cautious though to suggest that the teams today would beat the teams 30 years ago. I'm not sure they would. You have to take into account the way that the game was played back then. And then you also have to take into account that if it wasn't played that way now, the players from back then would have been trained under today's standards. And I don't know that those players were worse back then. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into that, recency bias, all these other things that you have to sort of take into account. But that was the golden age of the NBA. I could make the argument that the golden age of the NFL, even though not as many people are watching it, might be now. Because of the way that, the quarterbacks play today and the way that they're supported and protected, and that it's made the game fundamentally more exciting than it was in 1988 when, Joe Montana could get, knocked out of the universe and all that other stuff. I could argue that the NFL is more enjoyable today than it ever has been because of the way they protect the quarterbacks, which makes the game more interesting.
So would you say that nowadays is the golden age of college football too?
No,
yeah,
I would not.
Yeah.
Nope. No, when Damon played in college was it. And the reason I say that, I would say the 90s and the maybe all the way up through the mid 2000s. And the reason I say that is because the 90s up and through that mid 2000s is when you got the greatest variety of teams all sort of doing different things, winning games. And so
okay.
It was a lot of it. Like there were similarities obviously between. So Miami beating Nebraska in 1983 turned out to be a good thing for the sport. It wasn't necessarily a good thing for Nebraska, but it was a good thing for the sport because it democratized the sport and it got teams. Okay, we're going to throw the football and we're going to throw it around the yard, and then all of a sudden you had to run and shoot in the late 80s, and then the pendulum swung back with Nebraska and the option. And so, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, you had the greatest number of teams all being able to kind of win. Nebraska wins the national title in 95 season. 96, Florida wins it, and they win it with the fun and gun. In 97, Nebraska wins it again.
With power.
With, the power. 98, Tennessee wins it. Then in 99, Florida State wins it, but they play Michael Vick. And Michael Vick is a change agent. And all of a sudden you're, oh man, that's.
Well, it was Oklahoma first. It was Oklahoma first, right? Then right. In the early 2000s, it was Vick and that running QB versus a pure passer and going to Peter Warwick. That was a tale of two complete. I get it. I kind of like that though, Sam.
Yeah. So there was that, and then you had, in the mid 2000s, you had obviously the peak of the West Coast with USC, But then you had the read option, 05, 06, West Virginia,
Florida.
and then that comes into play. And then Tim Tebow in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
So that era, like when Tebow leaves college football, is about the time it started to become, okay, it's the Alabama show. And even though Georgia has winning more now, it's still Alabama. Like Georgia is Alabama. They're just Georgia. They're just Alabama and Athens, Georgia.
Mm.
Like every team is Alabama now. Like Ohio State is Ohio State, but they're really kind of Alabama. Clemson is Clemson, but they're really kind of Alabama. Everything is Alabama now. Like everything since 2011, 2010, whenever Tebow leaves, it's all about, throwing the football, great receivers, great defensive linemen, all those. And that's not bad. I like it. But it's not, people can go back and remember Tim Tebow. And I didn't even like Tim Tebow. But like what an incredible person for the sport. People hated him, they loved him. He was indestructible. He was destructible. It was all those things. And so no, college football is not in that phase right now because too many teams have to win the way that Alabama wins. And until that changes, and maybe the playoff will change it, the expanded playoff will change it. But the playoff being in place hurt the sport. It hurt it. It was better before it in terms of who would win and how teams would get to the national title game and all that. Since the playoff has began, the first year of the playoff was awesome, 2014, but since then it hasn't been as good. And hopefully the expanded playoff helps that process, but I'm skeptical.
Sam, let me ask you, and you have the advantage of hindsight, and I know this, but you're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Would you rather have been Bill Moose acquiring Scott Frost, or would you rather currently be Rick George and Deion Sanders?
Oh, that's an interesting way of, I don't know. I think I would rather be Scott. I'd rather be Bill Moose.
Even knowing what you know, that's saying something.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Deion Sanders won't be successful there. But what we knew at the time of Scott Frost was, I do know what I know, but 4 years from now, I think things could go very badly in Colorado, very badly. And not because I don't think that he can't do a good job. He's already done a good job at a more difficult school, but this may not work. It really might not work. You might have the first year might be, really bad. And it may not, he's, like I've said before, he's hired actually a good staff. So this isn't, well, Deion Sanders brought, he's got a good staff. They'll coach guys up. It's just very hard to sustain. This is so much change. And in football, when you have this much change, it can actually be really hard. In basketball, you can do it pretty easily. In football, I think it's challenging. But you never know. I may be completely wrong. But what I would say is if Deion Sanders has a lot of success at Colorado, he's not going to be there very long. He's going to be there 3 or 4 years and he's going to leave. So you're going to be hiring somebody else pretty quickly. Regardless, if he has a lot of success, he's gone. If he doesn't have a lot of success, you're either going to have to stick with him and let him try to figure out what it's like to manage a program like this, or you're going to have to let him go. And the difference between Jackson State and Colorado is probably going to be the entitlement level of the athletes. And Colorado, Power 5 athletes just don't have the work ethic and I'll do what you want me to do, coach, that a Jackson State would. It won't. The kids just, and I'm not trying to knock Power 5 kids because they're great athletes and they're very competitive and all that, but you're not I think Deion can be, I'm going to push different buttons in order to see who responds and how they respond. And a lot of these athletes are accustomed to regular responses. And so some of the guys who left the program in the spring, I don't think he wanted them to leave. I just don't think that they were I don't want to be here. I don't know what this guy's going to do day to day. And I think that's the part he's going to have to figure out is how to make a more consistent, approach, because otherwise I think the kids will be like, yeah, I need to have habits. I need to, this is my, everybody who goes to Power 5 thinks they're going to play in the NFL. And so like they're always going to be thinking about their own personal development. And so we'll see. Jim Harbaugh's managed to make it work at Michigan. I know he's mercurial. I think Deion Sanders at his best could be similar to that. At his worst, he could be not similar to Jim Harbaugh. So I guess we'll see what happens.
I kind of like that prompt. I'm going to give you another one. So would you rather, because we saw a couple of 5-stars wearing some Husker colors over the weekend. Would you rather have the combo of 5-stars in Brandon Baker and Aiden Breland or Dylan Raiola?
The team building is true in college and in the NFL. So team building tells you that both of those things are helpful to have, right? So like if you were in an NFL team and you had a choice between an elite quarterback and an elite offensive lineman, it's close depending on what you feel like you need. But if you're telling me they could get 2 5-star players versus 1 5-star player, then you take the 2. And I think you also, you want the linemen, right? Because those 2 5-stars make it, let's just put it very simply. If Nebraska got those 2 5-stars to commit, there might be a greater chance of getting the quarterback, because quarterbacks need, as good as Dylan Raiola is, and he's a very good player. Again, I would rate him just below Caleb Williams of recent cornerbacks in terms of his talent. He's incredible talent, but he can't do it all by himself. Like he has to be surrounded by players. Like if you can't protect a quarterback, it doesn't matter what he does. Like you got to be able to protect a guy. It goes back to the old David Carr thing in the NFL. Like David Carr was the first pick in the NFL draft, but he was sacked 9 million times in his first year. It's like it doesn't matter.
Shane just cringed.
So you got to find a way to surround a good quarterback with protection.
Hey, Sam, let me ask you something. What would you do? Because we've been talking about, local recruiting, and obviously the Super 6 is going to come out here in a couple months, and it is
really
hot.
Hard to figure that one out.
It's been hot and heavy. Then guys like Avante Dickerson are in the transfer portal. Is Nebraska on time, do you think, with what it takes to not only look in-state and have some success? Obviously, Rizak getting the offer from Notre Dame, then followed up by Missouri. Like, it's going to be tough. How closely associated is winning for you with this next crop?
Well, I'm a huge advocate of recruiting locally. So as many of the 2024 guys that you can get in the state, the better. The chances are greater of building a culture with local kids because of not only the investment that they have, the relationships that they build, that, who they're playing for, all the rest, but also just the local knowledge of the place. Like, there's just a comfort level. I'm not saying, Nebraska's had incredible leaders that have come from other places. Don't get me wrong. But, there's also something to be said for just having players who know this place, are locally invested, care about it in maybe a little different way, maybe feel a little bit more responsibility, all those things. And so I think I think it's important to get as many as you can. Obviously there are circumstances. The thing with Daniel Kalen is there's a circumstance there, and it's too bad. But I don't know that can change. I would have said, yeah, you go get that guy almost every year. But obviously with Dylan Raiola out there and Kalen believing he had to commit right away, which that's a belief that he had, and that, Missouri did what it did. I don't I think these kids are asked to commit way too soon. I don't think
it's hard.
I don't think it's fair. I mean, I think the schools act like they have all the leverage, and the reality is they don't. They don't have all the leverage, and I think players give up their leverage pretty easily. It used to be that kids didn't, commit for a while, but I think there's a pressure now, especially for quarterbacks, like you have to commit because you have to help us recruit the class, and the response should be, no, I don't. I don't have to do that.
I actually think, true serum, that's exactly what Dylan would say. He's like, nah, no, I don't. No, I don't.
Yeah. Well, I admire the fact that he committed Ohio State very early, and then he backed off that commitment, which is fine. Again, okay, it's okay to commit and decommit. That's okay. That's fine. People do that all the time. But he has not, forced his hand since then. Like, I think he's doing what he should be doing, which is finishing up school and processing what he wants to do and all the rest. And I think there's a sense of, now, as it relates to Dylan, Georgia then is a good team to go to for him in theory, because Georgia's going to recruit a great class regardless of whether Dylan helps. Some of these other schools probably would need more help, or hey, make a call or a text or any of that stuff. So, but anyway, back to the local kids, I think it's really important to get as many as I can, within reason. There's some circumstances that change things. But your son, Nebraska needs to get him. I don't know they will, but they need to. Hall and McMorris, Nebraska needs to get him. Pyfrom, Nebraska needs to get him. All those players. With Teddy, that just happened, and that's going to be an interesting thing to watch. I'm not sure, what Nebraska will do there. Notre Dame is a very gratifying offer.
I don't think they'll panic. Notre Dame came, just the background real quick. Notre Dame came twice. They came twice in 4 days, and they worked him out, and his workout was unbelievable. Now, and I know what the common thing will be was, it's committed. No, it is, right? Was out there this weekend. Freeman signed off on it. He could say yes tomorrow. Now, the thing with Missouri is Missouri had been in twice in the last 10 days. I think they were close. They waited. At least they were in the deal on campus. Do you know what I mean? It's not like they waited to see. They were just in the weight room last week. So it's not like they waited to see what Notre Dame was doing. Missouri was already in on Teddy from the get-go.
Yep. And let's there's cool things happening at Omaha West Side. I mean, that's part of this too. What I would say is that a lot of schools are starting to pay attention to the kinds of players that you have, not only in Omaha, but in the state of Nebraska and in the Midwest at large. The state of Nebraska right now has more gradable prospects, according to 247 Sports Composite, than the state of Colorado, than the state of Minnesota.
More you know.
It's now that's a commentary on Colorado and Minnesota to some degree, but this is real stuff. And the schools the states that still care about football are starting to produce kids that everybody wants. The city of Kansas City is all of a sudden an incredible recruiting hotbed because certain people, including Dan Lanning, who was coaching in that area 10 years ago, kept it alive. Like it went through a dip after, the Davis twins. It went through a dip for about 3-4 years, but people kept it alive. And now all of a sudden, the city of Kansas City has 5 stars every year. And, the kid, what's his name? Williams, Wanieri, he's going to Alabama or something. Maybe Nebraska's in his top 10 too. But this stuff is real. Like the window of recruiting is shifting to the 500-mile radius where Nebraska is. And it's a great time to be a new coach at Nebraska if you can get in on the kids in Omaha and Kansas City. We're in a wave. And unlike, Nebraska basketball is not able to take advantage of that wave 5 years ago when they had all those great players that now don't want to go to Nebraska in the transfer portal. But Nebraska football has an opportunity, and they cannot squander it.
Sam, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much. We'll talk again next week.
Thanks, Sam.
Take care.
More CNC next.
Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back to Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Rogers. You know, I've been drinking coffee courtesy of the Beanery all morning.
I went there yesterday.
Always fantastic. Because
Listen.
you get the best people inside there. They treat you as if you are like the last customer I would say the last customer of the day, and they can't wait to go home every single time.
I had a couple of gift cards to pick up, so I pulled around, and it was deep. This is like 3:00 on a Sunday, right? And I asked the young lady, I said, hey, there's some gift cards for Benning. And, there's 6 cars in line, right? Like I was, first of all, I was surprised they were still open, right? That's odd hours, right? On a Sunday for that location. And I heard a guy inside. I can't see him because the window's open, and I'm listening to him. He goes, oh, I saw that. I saw a note. She's like, so you don't know where they are? And he goes, that was last week, such and such. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm listening to him go back and forth, and I go, hey, I said, it's okay. Like, I should have come in last whatever, Thursday or whatever,
Right.
whenever Chris talked to him. And he's like, hey, tell you what, we'll make it up to you. Just come on back. We'll get them. We'll find them. Just, buy us some time. I was like, yeah, you know what?
Sounds good.
I'll take that customer service, right? Wasn't my desired outcome.
Right.
Right. But his response,
they handled it well.
Yeah, his response, like the E plus R equals O. The outcome wasn't what I wanted, but his response, he was fantastic.
Yep.
And you have all these other cars in line, and I kind of felt compelled. I was like, I don't even want anything right now. Like, these people are more important, but just the customer service, which is hard these days.
Hard to find.
Yes.
And hard to find good ones.
I watched a lady, older lady at the hotel I was staying. They had free breakfast. And it was legit breakfast. It wasn't like
not buffet style.
It was, but you could do your own waffles.
Oh yeah, so like the good.
It wasn't like, but
your basic
like
continental breakfast.
You get like the cheap links and the broken up scrambled eggs. No, this was. They had good eggs. They had bacon. They had breakfast sandwiches. They kept them under the heater.
Nice.
You could do waffles, but she was one of two. And there were so many people that just would like get plates and plates and plates of stuff, and people were waiting, and kids lose their mind. And they take more than they can eat, which is a pet peeve, right? Because food's way. It's just this is a total DB thing. Like, there's just certain things that get under my skin, right? And that's one of them. Like, you're not going to eat all that. People are waiting.
Taking too much food.
They're 6 late. Like, it was crazy to watch. Remember? And I waited like 50 minutes because I had to. They kept lifting up the lid, and I was like, not that round. They lifted up the lid again. I said, not that round. So I just, waited. But she was so patient. Older lady. Her name was Inetta. I went and talked to her.
Of course, you got the name.
Well, I had to go. I was like, hey, listen. They said, I watched you the last 2 mornings. You're unbelievable. Cleaning up after people, service industry's tough. And she's like, hey, if you go to such and such, this is how you spell my name. It was INETTA. And I said, I just want to say, thank you. Like, this is hard. I mean, just bad kids, man. And even the parents that were kind of entitled, the waffle maker looked like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory after Violet lost her mind, right? Like, it was just stuff everywhere. And, she's dabbing the creases and getting the batter out. And it's like my heart broke, right? It was, and all she wanted was, hey, just fill out the what is it, ratings? Leave a review. Yeah, leave a review. Use my name. She said that'll make it all worth it. No problem. Do it in the car on my way out. But it's crazy, right? Like, customer service at these places. This is like the beanery. And I'm not just pimping them. Just how about Cookie saying, I'm just a pimp. And they hit me with the North Omaha thing. I was like, wait, man. I know you're laughing. I was like, wait, those two things don't have to go together. But anyway. It's white collar crime.
A great show.
So just the way that they had the poise and the beanery, and they couldn't have been more than 21, 22.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Oh yeah.
Young.
I think it's family and friends.
Is it
of the family? Like, that would be my guess, because they're such a small company. Similar story in Kansas City for the draft. Breakfast, not a continental free breakfast, but it was the same. It was something you'd get at the Holiday Inn. Same thing, right? But I just had to pay for it. But the lady working was great. I walked into the restaurant, and I was just looking at the TV because SportsCenter was on, and I was watching, day 2 of the NFL draft, previews, things like that. And I'm standing in the bar area, but everybody else was eating in the main restaurant area. And she comes up to me and goes, are you going to eat breakfast? I'm like, yeah, I'm just checking out the TV real fast. And she goes, well, can I get you anything? Like, where do you want to sit? Like, do you need some coffee? And I'm like, oh, that'd be really nice, but I can get it myself. And she's like, well, How about you sit wherever you like? If you want to sit in the bar, I don't let people sit in the bar because then I have to clean up 2 spots. But since you're watching the TV, like if you really want to sit in the bar, like you can sit in the bar.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't ask to sit in the bar. I was just watching the TV before I breakfast, and I'm like, wow, like just the fact that you're trying to make my life, I don't know, easier, more enjoyable, however you want to put it. I go through breakfast. She's talking to me. She's talking about when she put out the eggs, when she put out the bacon. She's like, the bacon has been out for about 15 minutes. I'd probably wait until the next batch comes. She's like, but I just put the eggs out. So like, you should get some eggs now while they're hot. I'm like, great. So I got eggs, brought out bacon. She came over and told me she just brought out the bacon. What did that in turn lead me to do at the very end? Left her a good tip.
Yeah.
Because she did something great. But here's the other thing about leaving a review. I know a lot of businesses, especially, and I learned this when I was out of the country in the Dominican. If you leave a review and you name drop the person, more times than not, that person gets a day off.
So so I have one particular gas station I like to go to, 114th and Center. It's a Phillips 66. It's the closest wash to me that I do monthly. So just made small talk, and I go there all the time, right? Probably once a week. It's really the only place I go to. And the lady's really cool. She reminds me of Fran Drescher, but she's always nice to me because like 2 years ago, she kept asking me my loyalty number. And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I just pay for the monthly car washes. And she's like, oh yeah, when you pay the monthly deal, that's why it went up $3. They want to make sure they say thank you. You just type in this code every time. And I was like, thank you. And she goes, hey, is your card still in the machine? And I go, no, me, probably, right? She goes, hey.
Good one.
It's totally right. She's like, hey, just cancel the deal and I'll get you your money back. So she gave me like $3.31 back, right? Ever since then, the 2 car wash guys, they're unbelievable. They're like, they talk on the microphone. They're like, here comes, Mr. Nebraska. They're just cool dudes. They're either playing the guitar or squirting you with like something. Like they're nuts through the car wash. They dress up.
They're playing the guitar.
Yeah, and it squirts water. Like he was like Elvis one day. Yeah. No, it's a real guitar. It squirts water. It's like a squirt gun. So they dress up all the time. So anyway, I say all that to say. Where do you
go?
114th and Center. It's on the corner.
I'm going.
It's fantastic. So they both in that day, I go, hey, I said, Zach just gave me this card. I figured out where the QR code scan thing is on my phone. So I feel like I'm doubly good. And she's like, well, if you're going to take care of Zach, type in. I was like, oh, okay. Like the posting is immediate. And they both said just what you just said. Make sure you use my name.
Zach who?
Yeah, Zach. Zach's funny.
I know a lot of businesses
Zach likes football.
Give you a day off, like a paid day off because of it.
That's pretty cool. Well, my girl Inetta should get the whole weekend off. They were running her ragged.
Give it to her. Where'd you say Spring Hill?
Suites? Springfield. Yep. Springfield Suites. And it was off of 4505. It was in Westport. Nice. Brand new. Nice. And I like it because it's not like what I would call the hood, but it's not like super bougie, but it's a super nice restaurant or a super nice hotel. It was fantastic.
Well, there you go. Just treat people nice.
Bro, it was 93 in KC.
Any form of business, whether you're having a good day, whether you're having a bad day, just treat people nice.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And more times than not, when you get a customer that is having a bad day, it's not because of something that he didn't get from you. He started with a bad day, and now he's just taking it out on you. And it's unfair, but good customer service goes a long way. When we come back, maybe we'll get back into sports. Who knows?
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Now, boy, Jokic, a little bit of contact. Boy, that potentially could get dangerous.
I think Jokic was just trying to get the basketball from the crowd, and
Jokic, boy, trying to rip it away from Matt Ishbia, and then the little shove.
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy.
You know, Matt Ishbia did play for Tom Izzo, so he's unafraid, I'm sure.
A little bit of maybe a flop from Ishbia there. Wow.
You got to sell it to the officials, you know.
That incident was something last night. I know Matt Ishbia is probably feeling a little bit of personal injury. Maybe he should call Dyer Law.
Yeah.
Dyer Law, D-Y-E-R, Ishbia.
That's
D-Y-E-R .law. I got the phone number, 402-393-7529. Matt, when you're out there listening to Coffee and Cream this morning, that's the number you call because I know you have a claim to be made about Jokic's shove, which you made look a lot like a punch to the ground.
Hey,
he just gave you a little nudge, and you acted like you just got taken out by a truck.
It's Paul Simon.
The little guy, the little musician?
Yes.
Who's that little musician?
That's who he looks
Paul
like.
Simon.
That's who I thought it was at first.
Well,
and I just love the back and forth. Charles just went all in, like in typical Charles fashion. But then he was funny because he was talking about voters and how somebody didn't have Jokic in the top 5 of MVPs. And he took like 120 seconds, 2 minutes just to go all in about the writer. He's like, people like that shouldn't vote. You apparently don't watch basketball. You sleep under a rock. Like, you shouldn't have a vote. Like, he just was calling this dude out
right
on set for 2 minutes over, and you could tell he probably had an axe to grind to begin with, because it didn't really have much to do with them talking about the altercation.
Just more Jokic.
And I think because so what started was Shaq called him the best center in basketball, and then Barkley was like, well, it's either him or Embiid, and kind of went into the three, however you voted for Giannis, Embiid, Jokic, like to not have Jokic in the top 5,
right?
And then Charles,
and then he just went. It triggered something for him.
He's like, it's like politics. He's like, you let too many idiots vote, you get, play stupid games, get stupid results.
Prizes. Yeah, exactly.
I was like, hey, Charles, how you really feel?
Well, it is funny because that goes back into why Derek Jeter wasn't a unanimous Hall of Famer, right? Because a Boston Red Sox
an axe to grind
writer said, I'm not going to vote for you to be, no, not you. And then 99.8 or 99.9%, same situation. Like people like that shouldn't vote.
Yeah.
Like, why are you bringing your personal feelings into this?
Feelings, nothing more than feelings.
Okay, so what will happen to Jokic? Will he get suspended?
No.
Will he get fined?
Yes.
Or will he just have to issue an apology?
I think he'll get fined. They won't suspend him.
So by rule, you can't run into the crowd and do that if the ball's not in play. And this is just the weird NBA rule.
Would you have asked for the ball?
No, I would have said, give me the ball.
You'd have cussed too because you get mad.
I would have said, give me the ball, please.
Right. Yeah. You'd have been like, are you blinking kidding me? And I'd have been like, whoa. Why?
But if you watch Ishbia when he has the ball, right? Because he's like, look at who was in the crowd at the time. It was some Phoenix guy, right? That fell into the seats. He's like holding the ball as if he's not going to give it back.
Yeah. I don't know what that was.
And then when Jokic came over, he didn't let go of the ball. He made sure that Jokic wasn't going to get the ball and then made it this whole thing when Jokic shoved him. Really, what should happen now is Ishbia should be taking blame for certain things too. It shouldn't just be a one-way street.
Just be like, hey, man, you know what? In the heat of the moment, I've never played. So when I touched the real NBA basketball, I wanted to keep it.
I wanted to take it home to my kid.
He could probably afford.
I don't think so.
Several thousands upon thousands.
How many basketballs are on the back of his net worth?
Oh, I know, right? I mean, dude, he's pretty papered up. But it's a fantastic series nonetheless. I mean, that is two highly skilled teams.
Well, you had said last week, maybe was it I think it was last week. You had said the winner of
de facto
the Nuggets,
Western Conference reps.
Suns is going to go the distance.
Do you trust Los Angeles?
No, not anymore.
And I know you don't trust Golden State.
I don't. Los Angeles, I've started to really watch every game.
Yeah.
And I have a small sample size, unlike you, who have your charcuterie board has been gone and replenished every single.
I like charcuterie boards.
Month.
Can't go wrong with meat and cheese.
But there are so many times when I'm watching LA and I'm like, how are you guys winning this game?
Yeah, 1,000% accurate. No business.
You guys should be down 15.
1,000%
you guys should be down
accurate.
20. And they were. On Saturday, they were. And then all of a sudden, they had the halftime lead.
Well, if you're like out of breath Brian, he'll tell you to pick against the Lakers today.
Well, it probably would make sense. But now that I'm kind of seeing both of these series go battle for battle, tooth and nail, I'll probably lean your direction.
And I don't love Phoenix, but I do know one thing. Like when I still don't know about Monty Williams as a coach of the year, right?
Yeah.
I don't get that sense. I mean, no disrespect, Jacob Padilla. You did a fantastic job in Kansas City. Listen, Jacob doesn't walk. He fast trots to every game. I mean, notebook. He and Jordan, his brother, crack statisticians, and they're coaching and playing too at all these games. For NEB preps that'll happen later on this week. But I don't even think
he's a grinder. He's a hustler.
1,000%. I don't even know how. I wonder how he feels about Monty Williams, because he leaves a little to be desired in game.
Okay, here's a genuine question.
Okay, I don't know if I have a genuine answer. I suppose I can.
How much does the coach actually matter?
See, Did you listen to Doc Rivers? So did you watch Missoula in Game 1 against Philly? He mattered a ton.
Right.
The Celtics sucked in crunch time.
There's a few moments where I get that sense.
So,
but more times than not,
that's
I'm
fair.
like,
no, I'm with you.
When does the players lead themselves? The best teams are player led. That's why Budenholzer got fired because he tried to insert himself too much.
Caleb had a great one-liner. He's like, it's a half a shoe size too late, because he's going all the way back to when KD stepped on the line when the Nets could have beaten the Bucks a couple years ago. I was like, wow, nice job, Rolodex, but not a couple years too late, couple inches too late. I think more than we think, though, right? Because I mean, Ham has gotten Anthony Davis to like at least talk.
Okay, so it may not be like play driven, like
it's probably more
driven.
Player relationship driven than it is.
I can see that,
right?
I can see that a lot. Okay,
so I would say probably a lot.
But I just remember when who was it? The Cavs, when they hired Lou, and they were like, "Yeah, you're just kind of just like a placeholder for LeBron. We just needed somebody to coach."
But he was
it's almost like when your coach didn't show up to grade school basketball,
and they got rid of a great coach.
LeBron
really just didn't like him.
Right,
go back overseas and I'm like, wait, what? Like he's, I mean, I think more than we think.
How much did Popovich mean to the Spurs?
A ton.
But like, is that just because?
See, I think Kerr matters way more to Golden State than people think. You have to be able to manage those personalities.
And maybe manage the time, like the clock and things like that, throughout the game. You may not be calling plays. You may not. I mean,
are you a mic'd up guy?
I like the mic'd ups.
See, it seems
I like going inside the huddle.
It seems so contrived sometimes.
We said that when college basketball was doing that.
Like, are those guys really not cussing? Monty Williams, I don't think does, because he's super evangelical. But
when we get the mic'd up moments, because
they've already edited it, right? It goes back to the truck. It's queued up,
right? But also, when are we getting the mic'd up moments?
I don't know.
Is it like a timeout with?
Do you like the XFL?
4 minutes to go in the second half.
You like the
XFL?
Okay,
love it.
So real quick before I get to this with the mic'd up stuff, because that's real. Like that's like guys.
If they cussed. They're cussing.
Yeah, Greg. Like they got some guys there. I'm just like,
I'm shocked that the XFL hasn't gotten in trouble yet.
Okay, so listen. Don't you think? Maybe this is a Twitter question too. Don't you think the USFL and the XFL have similar talent?
Similar vibes too.
Why does the XFL seem like a better product?
Because they're a little satire like.
Is it the fans? It gives me the illusion that it's a better product, but I think the players are very similar.
But you kind of buy into the fun. Like a lot of people buy into Barstool Sports and Bussin' with the Boys. You buy into that because
is Mitzi going to get another job?
I remember that story that I told you, my favorite radio show back in St. Louis, same dude that was kind of sexually harassing women on social media. Yeah. I still have yet to hear his name pop up for a new job.
That's a shame.
I don't know. I'm going to say no. Maybe a desk job, something that doesn't come with a popularity status. But maybe not.
When Barstool's firing guys over censorship, you know you probably stepped over the.
Yeah, maybe he does his own thing because he probably still has a following. He probably still has people that like him that will forgive him for the mistake that he made.
Yeah.
But it won't be anything with like a company that is established.
I get the sense like when I'm watching the XFL, they make those crunch wraps look so good. We're watching like a Taco Bell commercial, squirrel. But I make our own crunch wraps at home. Like those are legit.
I love Crunchwrap Supremes. Love them.
I'm telling you, I can do the homemade ones pretty okay.
On the griddle?
We have a mini one that we use inside.
Okay.
It has like the prongs that you stick in the outlet. So it's old.
Oh, yeah.
Old school, like the 3-prong thing. You put it in with the turn dial.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, it's legit though. It's nice and seasoned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think the XFL product is just better though because of the uncensorship aspect to it.
I'm just like, why do I like it more? I don't know. I just do. But I know it's not because it's significantly better talent.
It also gained a lot of traction though when Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson bought it, and then.
Do you believe the kidnapping conspiracy?
conspiracy theories all around.
$3 billion?
We'll be back.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Hey, we're back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Damon Benning, Andrew Rogers. If you want to hear from Matt Rule later on, he will be on Sports Nightly tonight in the first hour, so I'm reading. So Matt Rule will get into maybe some of his thoughts tomorrow.
I think he's getting ready to move.
You in a good mood or what?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if he's in a good mood if he's moving.
No, I'm
Moving
pretty sure this may be TMI, but I'm pretty sure like the 50, like I think he's moving this weekend.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it.
No, yes, you have. Yes, you have. It's a great spot where he's moving. Great spot.
Is it the former home of Scott Frost?
No, it's not. It is.
No doubt to me about that.
You can tell he's about his family and his kids. It is specifically for them. It's funny too because on the Derby weekend, you know what his family loves? Horses.
Love that.
Horses.
Love that.
They love horses. So you got to have some room to roam.
Because
I'm sure they're going to get some property.
Got to have some room to roam.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's
good to know.
Is there
Narrow
anything,
it down?
Is there any, and maybe you don't bat an eye at it because you've done it a couple of times, but is there anything worse than moving?
No.
It's not good.
And there's nothing worse about having to do it essentially yourself or to pay some like company to do it because you don't ask people you love. You don't ask friends.
No, I agree. Although I do love my mover. I've used the same. So
I love the guys I just found here in town.
Listen, he's my friend, so I don't care. But King's Movers, best in the business. Jason, that is like my dude.
See,
he just moved Brandon Riley a couple months ago, and like he loves Nebraska. He loves sports. He loves the community. Like I'm all in on King's Movers.
Yeah,
but
finding good movers on the cheap is also hard.
He's amazing. He really is. Like, but anyway, I move on from that because Bill's like, Damon.
Stop giving out free ads.
Well, that's like Shane when I ask him why he's not married and he gives me some free milk reference, and I was just like, it's too much information, Shane. wait.
I haven't given you that reference for like weeks.
Hey, how many times do you think Brady Oltmans has moved?
I don't. 3 times.
Are you wearing a cutoff?
Dude, dude.
This guy.
That's why I like he
surprises us every week.
He's in his
Hey,
own,
stand up for me real fast. How big is that coffee mug? Good Lord.
It's a big one. It's a novelty one. It says I drink coffee like a Gilmore Girl.
Yeah, Betty White. I'm done. Stand up for me. Stand up real fast. I want to see what's on this
Brady
shirt.
gives zero cares,
what's on your shirt?
man.
It's a 1975 shirt.
1975. So how many decades off from when you were born should you have been born, Brady? Like 2? I want to go 2 decades. You're probably 20 years off of your soul.
We'll go 2.5. We'll play it safe and go 2.5.
This guy.
It's crazy.
Hey, Brady, how many times have you moved?
A lot. When I probably moved in total, I'd say 8 or so times.
If Matt Rule asked you to help him move today, would you do it? And you don't get paid. You don't get compensated.
You got to go to Charlotte.
All right. Well, usually I'll take payment in form of like a good pizza. I know he's a big fan of the Isles, so I could help somebody move for Isles pizza.
Man, you are like the ideal person to ask to move because you give them pizza. And
Wait a minute. Is that your go-to food, Bio?
No. I mean, you give me any sort of burrito, I'm gonna house that. That's probably my go-to. But pizza's up there.
This is a hot take. I got mad at Andrew. This was months ago.
You got mad at me? Never.
The most overrated thing are burritos. Like they're so like everybody if it goes in a soft shell, people call it a burrito. I'm like, why would you guys go and just get everything mixed up when you can eat it like on its own individually? Like it's like the easy way to do things.
I don't know. Breakfast burritos are fire.
I know, and I'm like, why? Like you could get all the breakfast meats, eggs, potatoes. You're like, breakfast burrito.
Because I'm speed. I'm all about speed, BB. Just give me one thing.
It's its own to-go cup. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, just house it, unwrap it, and eat it.
Even when I would go to like Chipotle or Qdoba, since we're not doing endorsements, I'm going with a bowl. I want to pick and choose.
Isn't that just a giant burrito?
No,
it's all mixed together.
So you can eat just one end of the burrito with all the stuff in it because they can't roll it correctly.
Yeah, I just want a face full of rice and then I want a face full of chicken.
You know what I mean? It's like you eat all this wrapped up tortilla and it's like, where's the stuff?
Don't you mix up a bowl? Like, because you get the sauce.
No, I eat it. Well, kinda.
So it's like a giant burrito, just without. It's naked. It's a naked burrito.
I want to pick and choose what I'm eating. Sorry, B.O. We're like.
You just like to see what the contents of your things are. You don't want to be surprised.
I just think it's lazy.
Per bite. That's what it is. You don't like the surprise per bite.
It's like it's lazy. It's like, how do I not have any meat in this? Where's the egg? Where's my hash browns? Like,
You'll get to it, man. Just finish the burrito.
Hey, glass half full guy. I love it.
Hey, speaking of you'll get to it, how surprised are the recruiting folks? Because it kind of came out of nowhere. And I know he's like my own because he is family. How about the Rezak buzz just like steadily taking off? And Nebraska has to be careful because you don't want to come across as reactionary.
Yeah, man, I don't know how they're going to react to that at this point. Like the Northern Iowa, Coastal Carolina offers, things like that. I think you can kind of say, all right, he's not our guy. He's just not in the style. He's an apple if we're looking for oranges kind of guy. Mm-hmm. But when Notre Dame comes in and offers somebody in your backyard that you don't have an offer out to, or that you're not seeing what they're seeing, I think that kind of turns a couple more heads and is like, what's going on over here kind of thing. And it's going to be a big summer. I mean, that might basically kind of force their hand and say, well, he's pure athlete. I mean, we've all seen him. I mean, incredible, very deserving of that offer and very deserving of more offers he'll get. I think he might, and other colleges might just force Nebraska's hand a little bit and say, well, how, if we got him, where would he fit in best? Where would he fit in with our scheme? Because there's obviously a lot of talent there and a lot of athleticism there. I think they might be a little bit surprised right now. And it, if anything else, puts a little bit of pressure on him this summer to kind of figure out, all right, do we really try to keep this guy in state with the big heavy hitters coming in again?
Yeah, it's interesting. And Andrew has an unfair advantage because he follows it close and he's kind of become the de facto West Side fan. But, I told him, I said, hey, Missouri's here a couple times or Notre Dame's here. And Missouri and Notre Dame, both between the two, they were 4 times in 10 days, right? So Notre Dame came twice in 3 days. Missouri came twice in 2. Watch the guys lift, work out, run. So I knew that they were close. They worked him out Thursday at 1:30. He was sensational. He already had the Boston College offer with Hafley, who knows really good defense. You still don't think that was enough, even though we know that he's playing out of position? He's not a safety. He's an outside linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You'd think with the ability that they have and the pride that they take, and like Evan Cooper takes in player evaluation, you'd think that they'd see that and want to go. And especially if you're playing on a defense where they like CJ a lot, right? Like they love, I mean, who doesn't? But if you're playing it that close, you've got to see, you've got to see similar traits. You've got to see that talent, that ceiling. You've got to see that potential there. And I'm very curious to see, because at this point I am still surprised that they haven't, Nebraska hasn't really gone for it and offered and said, hey, we've got a spot for you. So if it hasn't come now, I'm thinking this summer is going to be a big deal. Maybe it comes at a camp. Maybe they want to have him in the building.
Yeah, I don't know how much he's going to camp.
Yeah, so I mean, it gets tough and it's dicey. So it's at this point the summer is going to make all the difference.
So Brady, would you? And this may be too harsh, but would you say that Nebraska is doing a poor job of balancing, staying relevant with the top recruits, those top recruits that we're referring to, or just recruits in state, while focusing on year one and what they have in front of them?
It's that's a good balance. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. I mean, that it's such a fine line to walk, because you've got guys like Caleb Pyfrom, is getting a lot of attention. He's been in the spring. You got Ashton Murphy's already committed. So you've got big linemen that they're clearly attracted to. And then Carter Nelson, and I mean, of course, when a guy's getting offers and visits to Alabama, Georgia, and Notre Dame and stuff all over, you're going to pay a little bit more attention. And then you've got like the Danny Kaline situation, where just unfortunate circumstance of that particular recruiting class and having the number 1 overall recruit at that position that you're looking at. But I wonder if it is kind of because they're still paying attention, they're still building relationships, they're still reaching out to a lot of the in-state kids, and they're still having doors open during the spring and trying to get things built up for a good summer with camps and everything. But I mean, you saw like this last week when the doors open on the recruiting trail and guys are going everywhere. They're really taking a holistic national approach to recruiting, and they want to get the best athletes of guys that can play in their systems and everything in. But it's also one of those things where if you've got that much attention in California, Texas, Utah, all over, just the sheer number of all of those offers or all that attention kind of just naturally detracts from the attention that they're getting in state, just by sheer volume standpoint. But they're still paying attention to those in-state guys. I think it just with the big blitz, I guess I should say, from the recruiting staff on it, it just seems like it's less potent than the legwork that they're putting in state.
Brady, you've kind of followed recruiting for a while. Does this year seem, because I've gone back and forth just being in the state high school for the last 15, 20 years. Sometimes I think winning is overrated. Now I'm back to thinking, at least with this current crop of the 24s and 25s, especially with a new staff, winning may matter more than it normally would. I'm not sure if that's accurate. It's kind of my feel. Do you get the sense that maybe they're a year away from being able to capitalize on the actual vision, the plan, the good culture building camaraderie of it all, because they haven't won yet?
Well, it's difficult because, especially in state, I think any kid who grows up and plays football in Nebraska knows the relevance and the power of the block end and Nebraska football. I mean, it's like Coca-Cola, like you don't really have to say much. It's almost ingrained to you at this point. But also you've got the excitement of change in Matt Rule and an NFL pedigree of a coaching staff. All of that stirs a little bit of excitement regionally, nationally. Obviously, we've all heard him speak, at different conventions and even post-game, post-practice, anything like that. He says the right things to get the fans stirred up. So there's still that draw and that attention. But I do think that there's, at a certain point, the wins are a big component of it. It's just something that Nebraska hasn't done. They're one of the very few that have not made a bowl game since 2016. Like it's just how it is. I mean, they haven't played in a bowl game since Barack Obama was the sitting president. That seems like forever ago, right?
Yeah, it just seems like if they were 8-4 versus 4-8 a year ago, Raiola says yes.
Yeah,
that's kind of the sense I get.
Yeah, because I don't know. It's also different. It depends on the kid. Some kids want to go to a winner. Some kids want to go to, where the trophies are already at. Some kids want to be the one that says, I'm going to be there to turn it around and be a part of the change and regain the history. But I think
feel like that's harder.
Those are few and far between now. I used to think I'm with you, Brady. I used to be like that too. I don't know if kids want that.
Yeah, well, and now there's all that pressure of you've got to be the ones to turn it around in Nebraska too. So I think, it's a cop-out to say we'll find out what happens this fall, but I think if a winning season this fall might actually kind of kickstart or validate all those recruiting efforts and get them some more momentum built forward.
We're talking to Brady Oltmans, Nebraska football and recruiting for Hail Varsity. If you want to check out any of Brady's articles, sign up for Hail Varsity. Use the promo code AR for monthly, DB for yearly. You'll get some money knocked off. And you
always go yearly with DB.
And you can catch all of Brady Oltmans' articles there at Brady Oltmans on Twitter as well. Now, along the same lines, so we're talking about bowl games. We're talking about, at least trying to get there. If the stats can be true for at least once in a long time, how about the ESPN FPI ranking saying, hey, Nebraska's going to win 6 games. They predict a loss to open the year, though, and a loss to Minnesota could set up Nebraska in an interesting spot. So I want to ask you this. If things end up that way, how do you think this team will handle the loss or that setback or any setback for that matter in Coach Rule's year one?
Well, if there's one thing we know about Coach Rule, especially when it comes to coaching in the actual regular season, he's going to get his team fired up. They're going to be mentally strong. They're going to be resilient. in a way that, his Baylor and Temple team showed, because spoiler, they lost games at Temple and Baylor too. Not a lot of them, except for that first year at Baylor was tough, but they always came back on the field and they always competed and fought. There was that one game his first year at Baylor where, despite all the troubles and the scholarship situations and shorthandedness of playing in the Big 12, they still pushed Texas in their game together. And that's a big game for them, and Texas obviously has a big talent disparity, at least at that time they did. So you can imagine, and especially you've seen what they've got at Nebraska now. They like this team. They like who they've got. They like the direction that they're going into. Minnesota is a team that starts strong. Losing to Minnesota wouldn't necessarily surprise me at all. But I would imagine them to come back strong and respond well. Plus, you've got 3 winnable games right there in a row in the non-conference. And then that gets you some confidence and momentum built up going forward into, the Michigan game, which is going to be a tough one, obviously. And then you've just the way that the chips fall in the rest of the schedule look favorable. I would say north of 6 wins. If the Vegas line were at like 6.5, I would probably go over, just because of the way that the schedule falls out and then the way that they kind of work at the back end of their season. But the Minnesota game is tough to start. Starting with a conference game is always tough. And Minnesota is, perennially a strong start. I mean, they started undefeated last year before the wheels kind of fell off there for them. But it's a tough matchup. And regardless of how it goes, I'd expect, Nebraska to attack it with some energy and then come back, recover, and because they know they've got to be mentally strong if they're going to play for this coaching staff.
When you're taking a look at the kind of the hidden prowess, or guys that you're kind of watching them progress, is there somebody that's starkly different or to the contrary of what you thought when they initially took the job, in terms of what you think they're going to bring to the table under Rule, whether it's positive or dare I say negative? I don't know if we know enough to do the negative thing, but who's the furthest so far in their prowess from what you thought we may be getting at the start?
That's a really good question. I'm curious to see what it looks like it throughout the summer and fall, because I think they were all aware of the situation this spring and the work that needed to be done. But I will say one that stood out was Terrence Knighton. Seeing him in practice and seeing the way that he would work with the players and the way that he'd get that interior defensive line work done. And he had some of the edge rushers and guys in his room that I think stood out. You see the attention to detail. You see the focus, purpose, his focus on feet movement and feet placement with active, violent hands and shaking blocks in different ways. I mean, collectively, Nebraska had 15 some tackles for loss in that red-white game. Granted, some of those are, blitzes and stunts, but they don't get there if you don't have guys on the interior eating them up and causing a havoc in there. You know what I mean? So I think Terrence Knighton is the one that I don't know if I necessarily didn't see it from him when he arrived, but seeing him work and then seeing already, in the red-white game that the outcome of that, and seeing, them taking the lessons that he taught really kind of stands out of like this could be a really big thing for Nebraska.
Now, do you think that's because he played in the league and that's what these guys want to do eventually? So whenever he does open his mouth, ears perk up, versus say a coach like, I don't want to knock on any of the coaches that didn't play in the league, but we'll just use Garrett McGuire as an example, a young guy, like still getting his feet wet and here in the college football realm of things. But when you look at a guy like Knighton, even though he doesn't have a whole lot of coaching experience, he did play there. So with these guys wanting to get there eventually, why not perk up the ears when he's talking?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the NFL pedigree means a whole lot. Plus, he helped coach, the defensive line at Carolina. So he has some of that firsthand experience working with NFL players. Plus, I also think part of it is, he went to Temple. He had to claw his way up, and being a defensive lineman going to Temple, I know that, in NFL draft circles, you pick out kind of, smaller schools don't matter or anything, but let's be honest here. the group of 5 or Division II guys come from schools like that, they got a chip on their shoulder, man. And if you've got a guy that's proven to claw his way up there, fight for a scholarship at Temple, get the NFL, have a successful career there, I mean, it's going to perk up. And then you see the care and attention to detail and relationships he has. Guys know that, okay, that's what it's going to take to get to the NFL. I'm going to learn from that guy. And I think you're already kind of seeing the fruits of that bear out.
Brady, let me fast forward to the opener. I've been kind of teasing, Minnesota's had kind of a tumultuous offseason, whether it's the acquisition of new staff, kind of the changing of the guard, a couple of really key returners entering the transfer portal, kind of surprisingly with guys like Michael Brown-Stevens and Trey Potts, et cetera. When you're looking at the opener for both teams, would you rather be the team that is supposed to be the steady Eddie that's kind of had the change agent, or would you rather be Nebraska without a lot to go on and trying to do the change agent thing?
Oh, man, that's a good one, because typically I would say you'd like to have the steady hand, but at the same time, PJ Fleck in Minnesota haven't had to deal with the kind of changes that they've had to overcome in this offseason before. They've been a pretty solid staff, like a pretty consistent staff, and then they've had consistent contributors throughout there. Tanner Morgan seems like he was there since, the FDR administration. You've got like Mo Ibrahim he took more carries than I'd ever seen, a Big Ten Big Ten running back in quite a while. They've got guys that were veteran, and then you have that overturn. You had the coaching staff overturn. It's, to me personally, it's a little bit more unknown if you have like the same group for 4 years and then you have to overturn versus a whole new staff coming in that kind of knows each other. So they have that familiarity built up together in year one. It's really difficult. It's a really kind of, I don't know, same side or different sides of the same coin on that one. It kind of just, depends if you're wearing Gopher clothes or if you're, traveling up to Minnesota in August.
Brady, last thing here. We started with recruiting. We'll end with recruiting. Got about a minute. What should people know about Keelan Smith outside of the fact that he's a legacy? What is Nebraska getting in a player like him?
Oh, man, he's got a long stride, long arms. He's powerful, but also the coaching staff is they're not sure if he's done growing yet, because right now he's about 6'3". He's got a good body on him, but they think he might be able to get up to 6'5". And at that point, they're not sure if they can move him around. He's kind of played tight end, moved out a little bit to receiver last year. They could potentially, if he keeps growing, they can add a little bit more weight to him, get him in the college weight room and see if he can slide on the defensive line, maybe a little bit like his dad, or kind of move around and play different roles within that offense. So he's an exciting prospect, a guy with a high ceiling. The possibilities are there for him right now.
All good stuff, man. We appreciate your time. Go ahead and hop on your chopper after the interview and head off into the sunset.
Sons of Anarchy. Go ahead then, B.
Appreciate you guys.
Hey, thank you. We'll talk again next week. Brady Oltmans, Nebraska football and recruiting for Hail Varsity. We still have the sports cleanup to get to, and also, how about the odds that were released for the Big Ten, like the game odds?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe some Heisman hopes in the Big Ten too, which is weird. Tough to think about with Caleb Williams. We'll try to get into all of that next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Here's the 1-0. Fly ball left field. Soto going back to the wall, and it is gone. A home run. Chris Taylor with a 2-out, 2-run home run. His 6th home run of the year.
That was huge as they came back from down 2.
Dodgers
came back from down 2-1 in the 9th, baby.
They may not win by a lot, but they win. Doesn't matter if you win by 1 or if you win by 13.
Tell you what, man, that was they own the Padres.
You know who isn't winning right now?
Who's that? Oh, yeah.
Well, no, the Cardinals did win last night. Guess who has
He
a
swings
7
and hits
game
it out of here.
So you are 500 in your last 10, though.
Guess who has a 7-game losing streak, though? They are the team with the worst record streak-wise right now.
Tigers?
Not the Tigers. Don't think worst record. Just streak-wise. They have the largest losing streak right now.
Give me one team that they played during the streak.
Will they give it away? I'm going to try to find the team that won't give it away.
Yeah, give me one.
I'm hiding my computer screen from DB right now.
Give me one team that they played during the streak.
Okay. Let's go with the Rays.
The Rays? Are they in the AL? No. The Rays just played the Yankees. They came back.
Didn't they just play Baltimore?
No, Baltimore just played Kansas City. The Rays. Are you throwing me a curveball? Oh, I know who it is. I gave you their schedule with the Jays and the Rays.
And that's why I tried to hold off on the Jays.
It's the Pirates.
The Pirates have lost 7 straight.
And it's, you know what's funny about you just bringing that up? What did we say for 2 weeks? We'll see if they're for real.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way this team is this good.
We'll see if they're for real with this schedule, because they had just come off beating the Dodgers, and then they had the Jays, the Rays, and somebody else tough.
Now they're only a half a game ahead of the Brewers.
So So maybe nobody's going to run away and hide in that division. Are you going to be the Central? Are you going to be the AL Central?
Probably.
It seems like every year those are the 2 worst divisions in baseball.
There are 4 teams.
Is that?
It's probably
the
not you.
Centrals? Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're not wrong when you say that.
Okay.
Well, the NL West is top heavy.
Yeah.
The NL East is more often than not top heavy, but they've started to even out. Like the boat has started to level out. The AL West,
dude, the Pirates are still
more
20 and
Astros.
15.
Yeah, I know. And they lost 7 games in a row.
That's crazy to think at one point they were 20-7 or 20-8.
20-8. And now they are only, like I said, a half a game above the Brewers.
Dude, how about the Yankees collapse yesterday?
How about the Yankees being the only team in the AL East that doesn't have 20 wins?
Yeah, that division is kind of filthy.
Wasn't the Yankees our pick to come out of there?
Did I go with I'm pretty sure I did.
I think both of us did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did.
And I believe we had Toronto backing them up. Didn't have the Rays.
Hey, so and he got the no decision yesterday.
Garrett?
I was just going to very good. You read my mind. Get out of there, kiddo. Get out of there.
He gave up a home run for the first time in 50 2/3.
Listen. Get up, baby. It's still one of my
Rest
favorites.
in peace.
Does he seem like he's undefeated?
Garrett Cole?
Yeah.
No.
Do you know what his ERA is in the AL?
1.6.
Come on. That's ridiculous.
Well, that seems what McClanahan's is.
Bro, he's got a 2.0 ERA. That is filthy in the AL.
Hey, by the way,
and I'm not a huge I get it, like earn runs,
but he goes deep.
Man,
he goes deep into games.
Just a smidge over 2. Garrett Cole is 5-0.
Yeah, like I said.
Quietly, you know who's a stud, and I don't know. I'm just trying to speak it into existence because I want them to do well. You've been watching Miller's last couple of outings for the Mariners? Remember, it was the Miller versus Miller a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
talking about when they were dueling. And
yep, sure.
He had another great outing yesterday. Like the Mariners, go Mariners, baby. Go Mariners. If you're pulling up the rear for that staff, they're at third place. They're in third place. They're 500. Roo.
I feel like Seattle's just a team to root for. You root for the Kraken, you root for the Mariners.
I'm not rooting for the Kraken.
But just like fan-wise,
No,
I feel like a
you.
lot of teams
with
could
you.
latch on to the Mariners and say, hey, I'm a Seattle fan.
I'm with you.
May not like to live there.
So
Shane McClanahan, 6-0, 2.03 ERA.
Yeah, he's dealing. It was 6-1 yesterday, right? At one point?
Yes.
Yeah, remember, wasn't it the Rays that couldn't beat the Yankees in the regular season a couple years ago? Like, how many in a row had the Yankees won? Like, they had an abysmal record.
Too many.
And then all of a sudden, the Rays just, turned it around.
Yeah.
That franchise is silly.
It's weird, too, because they have exactly what the Oakland A's are facing, except they're good, right? Like a poor stadium.
Yeah, fan support. Yeah,
exactly.
I get it. Okay.
But they're good.
Okay. I was like, wait, what? Because the biggest difference is the front office.
Yes.
The Rays have some wizardry going on, and that's after the Dodgers pilfered them. To get Friedman, and that's when the Dodgers really started turning it around fiscally, was when they got some Rays blood in there.
Well, the good thing for the Rays, too, happened when Corey Crawford and Evan Longoria helped take them to the World Series against
getting those finances off the books, much like guys like Andre Ethier. And sometimes you just got to get rid of those contracts so you can start over.
But even the A's, we were all in on the A's 3 years ago when they had Chapman and Olsen and They had some big names on that team, and then they offloaded them like Jason Giambi and Johnny Damon. What am I talking about? Oh, yeah, that movie Moneyball.
Hey, so where would you put Boone on the hot seat? They're 10 games under 500. They're not under 500. 10 games out of first place.
Right. I've been thinking Boone should have been gone a while ago.
Yeah, but he did he fought off the critics, the naysayers. He's got to be in trouble, doesn't he?
You would think, but at the same time, with what I've seen him already overcome, they have a long leash on that man. A long one. It's retractable. He's all the way out there, and then he comes back a little bit when they tighten him up, and then they let him go a little bit, and then they'll bring him back and tighten him up. So
the funny thing about the NL Central is the only team to play 500 baseball in the last 10 is who?
The only team to play 500 baseball in the last 10. Got to be the Cardinals.
Yep. Just hanging around.
He swings and hits it out.
Well, Goldie hit 3 bombs.
The great
bombs.
Goldschmidt, according
the elite Goldschmidt.
Should we do that again?
Yeah, we'll keep going down rabbit holes of elite versus average versus.
I wonder why the Padres can't beat the Dodgers. Their roster's better. God, can I say that with a straight face? Okay. Yeah, I think the Padres roster is better.
Do the Padres scream a bad home team to you? Because whenever they play at home,
it's not much of an advantage. But the interesting thing for them is, I just think they should be better, and I like their manager.
How many teams should be better? Like, let's just think about that for a moment. The Astros should be better.
They haven't been healthy.
Should be better.
Do I give you the Astros? Believe me,
Houston.
I would love to pile on. I would. Like, if I could pile on the Astros, I would. But, I mean, Altuve.
Frankly, the Mets should be better.
Yeah, and they spent
tons of money.
They got a rich owner. Like, he
that's
can
what
do
you
that.
can do, right?
Yeah.
Just deal with the luxury tax later.
He stays papered up. But, I mean, they're still in second place. I mean, 1 game above 500. And it's kind of early, but they're just meddling.
Mm-hmm. Well, Verlander just came back too, so give them a little grace there.
I know one thing: don't get too far behind the Braves because
they're too hard to catch.
They're way good, right?
They're 15-3 on the road.
Oh, I know.
On the road.
Are you kidding me? Is he fed up though, Shane? That's the question.
You do not call timeouts.
I'm fed up.
Plus 115 run differential for the Rays. Plus 115. Some of these stats are just outlandish.
Did you realize that Senga is 4-1?
Could I?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I know. Sneaky, right?
Good for him.
Why?
I love it.
Why?
Dude,
you're not even a Mets guy. Like, why do you love it?
Just got here.
He was like, Kodai?
Like, just got here in the league.
Boys?
On my fantasy team.
Did you have breakfast burritos?
Yeah, we did. We shared them.
I don't get the affinity. Oh, good for him. Like, what?
He's a first-year guy in the pros. Like, give him some love.
They spent, too.
I'm all about having some guys,
I thought you were going to say sex. I was like, so Shane.
Oh.
Okay. Well, I'm all about having. I was like, what?
Some guys exude confidence.
Shane, cut that up. See what he said when he said he's all about. I think that was a Freudian.
No, we need to clean this up.
Aisle 6.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio. Things you wanted us to get to from the weekend, but we didn't.
Clean up on aisle 6.
It's the Coffee and Cream Sports Cleanup on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back. Before we get into the sports cleanup, I want to take a moment and tell you about Dingman's Collision Center. I started with drinking my coffee courtesy of the Beanery, and then I realized I brought my Dingman's Yeti with me to the show, so I can tell you all about them. Dingman's is your one-stop shop for all your car needs. They have plenty of locations for you to check out. They even have one that you can't miss. It's bright green, that lime green building, and the people inside are just the nicest people you'll ever meet. We talked about customer service earlier on in the show. That's who Dingman's is, Dingman's Collisions Center. Also, if you are looking to celebrate the NHL draft lottery tonight, maybe you have a Zipline beer in hand.
How about a beer?
They have plenty to choose from, a great selection. But if you're going to actually go somewhere, maybe, just maybe, you'll check out the downtown Omaha tap room. That's across from Charles Schwab, a block from CHI. They pour fresh pints directly from their iconic shipping container. That's Zipline Brewing. The NHL draft lottery, do you watch that? Because
No.
I don't watch it.
I don't.
But I think I'm going to watch it tonight just because Bedard's name.
But that's all we ever talk about.
Why don't
though.
we watch it? Because we're spoiled. Yeah. You like the Penguins. I like the Blues. More times than not, they don't have a chance at getting a player because we're in the playoffs.
So here's the deal, though. And
now they probably won't. Blues have a 3.5% chance. You guys have like a half a chance.
But here's the thing, though. It's because of the familiarity with guys available. So we're not like all in.
Mhm.
It's super. I almost said niche, but it's super
Nietzsche.
It's super niche. What do you like? He just randomly
He's like, hat. That's Shane. That's just Shane.
He's still traumatized over his NASCAR fight.
Yeah, Shane. What did you think of that?
I didn't see it. I didn't watch NASCAR.
You didn't see the fight?
No, but I didn't watch that. I didn't watch the race. I don't usually. I only watch.
So it was a little bump. Okay. He
I
got
only
bumped and he didn't like it.
Well, I mean that happens. What track was it at?
He said,
I don't know. I just saw the punch thrown.
He said,
I didn't watch the race. I just saw the fight.
Right, because it was all over the place. But I was just saying I didn't watch the race because I don't usually watch anything that's not the super
I can't watch
speedways.
NASCAR. I just can't.
it was right there.
Too many laps.
I'm 99.1, not 9% sure it was Kansas Speedway.
That's right. Because
Well, yeah,
they
that's
called
where-
it, they
that's
called
where
it
it was
the
at, yep.
Kansas Brawl or something.
Yeah.
And I've been there. I've been there
Normally I
3
go
times.
99.9, but
Good on you.
90. Well, I was.
Oh yeah, you were in Kansas City.
Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to listen to Satellite because my guy that I was.
Would you listen to Satellite NASCAR?
No, but we talk like the whole time, like pretty much the whole time.
And those races can be.
You ever do that?
Oh, just talk? Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Normally not me, but I've done it twice now, and both times I was the passenger with the driver. My buddy John, we were going to Minnesota.
Oh
we
yeah,
talked
sure.
and listened to music the whole time. And Brett and I we talked.
I can't do both though. You know me, I'm not a good multitasker. So if I'm listening to a podcast and then say Ashley and I are on a road trip.
Well, I
and she
think
wants
he
to
even
talk,
turned the radio off.
I have to turn it down or pause it because I can't listen to two things at once. Well,
Now I did see the Kentucky Derby fight though.
Wait, there was a fight at the Derby?
Yeah.
Where?
It was in the crowd.
And why?
It was in the stands.
Over what? A
It's just-
spilt julep?
I don't know.
Hey, I can't see over your hat. Hey,
That's
take
why
off
I was
your
saying. That's
hat.
why I was saying earlier that crowd gets a little rambunctious.
Yes, that's just not my deal. It just seems.
Did they
kinda
fight with their pinkies up?
pretentious? And maybe that's a bad stereotype.
No, I mean it is a sport for like wealthy people to attend.
What's a ticket?
Oh, expensive. I mean, I know to get on the lawn, when I was looking it up, it was like $75 to $80 just to stand on the lawn, like main area, to sit in the seat. Oh yeah, you're paying a lot of money.
Huh. Interesting. I wonder what it is relative to other huge sporting events. I should probably Google.
How about Bronny James committing to USC?
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
That was during the Derby. That was right before the Derby started.
Hopefully, Andy has a job by the time that his job is over, his career is over. But
I mean, but they also have Collier, right?
Yeah,
could be a good team.
Go
Could be
ahead,
a really
go,
good team.
go ahead and infield. I don't know, man. I'm not. I saw some latest reports where he's actually people think he can like play in the NBA now. So I don't know. I'm hard headed and I'm
You're
stubborn.
going with the flow.
Oh, we played against him. I remember when he played for Gulf Coast. We played him in Wichita. And shoot, he was 2 years older than Caleb, and I was just like, this guy's not that good. Why are all these people?
He
here?
definitely got better.
Yeah. So okay, Micah. That's definitely Micah's train of thought. He's like, Dad, stop hating. Like he's gotten a ton better.
And he has.
Yeah. And I'm arguing with a middle schooler that
13-year-old.
watches YouTube All-Star basketball and stuff like
All
that.
the good highlights, none of the bad.
Yeah, he
I
knows
get
them
it.
all. So I'll give you that.
Did it surprise you that Nebraska took one from Maryland this
Yes, but they needed to not get swept. I felt like the biggest loser saying that. But remember when we talked to Brunsey and we're like, hey, just don't get swept. And okay, you didn't get swept, but it's such a poor mentality because 90, most of the time I'm mad over that. Like, man, don't take that stance. But, Maryland had been mauling people. And we talked about their offense. And it was on full,
especially yesterday,
display. Like they have the ability to just play softball when they want to, but it's like I mean, yeah, I was happy that they just didn't get the brooms put out.
How about this stat? So Evan Bland tweeted out Nebraska baseball single season home run totals 93 in 1985 in 69 games. They're at 82 through 44 games.
Yeah,
right now.
and I think so they went into the weekend with like 76, which was like the Matt Hopper crew in the early 2000s with like Alex Gordon, and they were prolific. These guys just hit bombs,
but they can't win games.
No, I know.
Imagine raking like they are and missing the Big Ten tournament. Like that's a possibility right now for Nebraska.
I think they're going to be okay.
Well, because they're playing Penn State, but you have to take advantage of Penn State because you follow that up with Purdue, and Purdue's right in the mix.
Yeah.
So if you can sweep Penn State, you control your own destiny. But the way that Nebraska has been playing doesn't make you feel confident that they can do that.
I'm with
so
you.
even if you split and go, or say you win the series and you go 2-1, you still have to then take Purdue to 2-1.
Oh, you're exactly right.
So control your own destiny, Nebraska. Sweep Penn State, and then you can afford to lose the series against Purdue if that so happened to be the case.
Because we're at what 10-8.
10-8.
10-8. I almost said 10-7.
So if you look at the Big Ten standings, I'm going to try to remember without looking it up. There are like 4 teams that are 10-8, and then there's who's 11-10. It's is that Illinois?
No, Indiana's 11-6.
Somebody's 11-10.
Illinois is 10-10. I think 10.
Are you sure they're not 11-10? I thought I said 11-10.
Yeah, again, like you'll know, like when I want to fight you over something. I thought Illinois was 10-10. Are they 11-10? We're arguing over a game.
11-10 in conference.
Okay.
Okay. I did look that up this morning. So they were probably 10-10 when you looked it up yesterday.
Yep.
So but you have 9 teams though right now, and you can there's only field of 8.
So who's at the cut line? Minnesota. So you have Maryland, Indiana, Rutgers, Iowa, Michigan State, Nebraska. That's 6. Michigan makes
Purdue.
7.
Yeah.
Purdue.
That's 8. But then you have, like I said, Illinois at 11-10 right now.
Yeah, cannot stub the proverbial toe.
You got to take advantage of the 6-11 Penn State team.
And the crazy thing is, Illinois has won 3 in a row too. So, I mean,
I guess say getting hot at the right time in air quotes, right?
Well, I mean, they took advantage of. I think it was Rutgers, right?
Yeah.
Was it Rutgers?
Decent.
No, it was Michigan State. It was Michigan State.
But
They
still
took
a
advantage.
decent team.
Yeah. Now they get Rutgers at Rutgers.
Right. Michigan State was looked at as a team that could win the Big Ten.
So Michigan State is much like Ohio State. Since Nebraska's got in the Big Ten, fallen way the heck off. And I know this is not it's not Iowa State or Ohio State basketball or football, but shouldn't that baseball team be better?
Much better. Much, much better.
Like for a couple years now, right? Okay.
And there's writers still today that think they will win. Michigan State will win the Big Ten today.
We had one of the greatest ever, Chris Webb. He doesn't do it anymore. He actually became a friend. Like we used to have him on to talk Big Ten baseball and super guy. But I remember C. Webb is in Columbus because he's a Jackets fan too. And we've been talking about Ohio State supposedly supposed to be being good for years. And they have 6 wins, I think, in the Big Ten. You're 6-15.
Yeah, that's bad.
Like 12-13 when Nebraska got into the conference, it's like, what happened? It's not like they don't spend.
Right.
Sure.
Is that Sam? Are you guys
Good
going?
morning.
Oh, hi, Sam. Are you guys going?
With this tournament being at Charles Schwab, Nebraska has to make it. They have to make it because it's essentially a home game for you.
You want 2,000 fans in the seats.
Yeah, it's essentially
The Big Ten is like, go Nebraska. Schwab is like, go Nebraska.
People need to sell some tickets, and I mean, you'll sell enough tickets.
Are you going? Would you go?
Oh yeah.
So last time they were here, didn't they have the early game? And I think I was working, but it'd be nice with a favorable schedule.
Right. I mean, we could broadcast from out there.
Ooh, nudge, nudge, wanky, wanky. Chris.
Why not?
Chris Wanky.
Well, we can ask Chris.
Arguably the worst played game to win a national championship. Florida State, Oklahoma. Not good.
Just pass over. Pass over.
Like Easter?
Something like that.
Yeah, it's always some sort of reference, right?
Oh, man. And then the big 10 bracket for softball was released yesterday, too. Nebraska got the 4.
Yeah. Got to stop Northwestern.
And they play Thursday?
Yeah, talking about being able to rake.
Yeah. That Northwestern team's very good. We'll be back tomorrow.